another brain on the campus, just another man in the field, just another tall pile of papers, making it crowded in here. Someone else's work in your thesis, someone else's words in your mouth, someone else's hard work and research, taking you up in the world. Oh, never leave me out, I'm standing by the sidelines. Oh, never leave me out, I'm standing by. I watch it all from afar, heaven help me. I watch it all fall apart, heaven help me. Help me, help me, help me, help me. I watch it all from afar, heaven help me. Just another brain on the campus, just another set of ideas, just another theory in motion, waiting there for you to steal. It must be so lonely knowing what you know. Man, it must be lonely, keep it on the low. Oh, never leave me out, I'm standing by the sidelines. Oh, never leave me out, I'm standing by. I watch it all from afar, heaven help me. I watch it all fall apart, heaven help me. Help me, help me, help me, help me. I watch it all from afar, heaven help me. I watch it all from afar, heaven help me. I watch it all fall apart, heaven help me. Help me, help me, help me, help me. I watch it all from afar, heaven help me.
Pressure's building up, sparks are gonna fly. I know where this is going when I look into your eyes. I know where this is going when I look into your eyes. Sweet sweats rolling down the middle of your spine. Bodies move together, perfect rhythm and time. Baby, say my name, I'll write yours in the sky. Higher than a rocket on the 4th of July. Higher than a rocket on the 4th of July. It's good, it's good, it's good to be alive. It's a full-time job, the work's never done. 24/7, it's a labor of love. Yeah, everything I got, it's all about us. Baby, this ain't working, it's a labor of love. Baby, this ain't working, it's a labor of love. If I need some sugar, I'll get it from your lips. If I need some sugar, I'll get it from your lips. It's good, it's good, it's good to be alive. It's a full-time job, the work's never done. 24/7, it's a labor of love. Yeah, everything I got, it's all about us. Baby, this ain't working, it's a labor of love. Baby, this ain't working, it's a labor of love. But it's never the same. If love is a fire, I go down in those flames. Wanna die in your arms, hearing you say my name. Wanna die in your arms, hearing you say my name. Wanna die in your arms, hearing you say my name. It's a full-time job, the work's never done. 24/7, it's a labor of love. Yeah, everything I got, it's all about us. Baby, this ain't working, it's a labor of love. It's a full-time job, and the work's never done. 24/7, it's a labor.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the AfreecaTV studios. I am Artosis, alongside Rapid, filling in for Tasis, who's on vacation for a little bit. And this is the return of the ASL.
Just like Tasis started off last season, what a special day to be back. Feels like we've gotten in our AfreecaTV time machine and head back to the glory days of Brood War, featuring almost all of its greatest players.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy if you look at the lineup in this tournament. It is literally as if we have gone back in time. Guys, like last season of the ASL, it was great, and there were some really big classic names in it. But damn if we don't have ourselves a StarLeague right now.
Oh my God. It's also like we've gone back in time because Artosis looks like 20 years younger right now with all the makeup. It's a good day to be here. With,
I always look like this. I don't have any makeup on. I don't know what you're talking about.
He wakes up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night.
I woke up with this hair, too.
There you go.
But guys, like, this is really exciting for us. Please get out there, spread the word. ASL is back, and this season is so filthy, man. There are so many top-end players, like the best gamers of all time are here in this tournament.
In the best game of all time,
oh
Artosis.
My God.
Just back. You guys can watch this on Twitch, Africa, YouTube. So many links out there. Get them out there. Lots of places to watch, lots of players to watch. I think we should be taking a look at those coming up here in just a little bit. But even just today, we've got 1/4 of Tekbang Lisang here, ready to go, and good players every single day. We're broadcasting 3 days a week, and here you can see all of the players competing in the round of 24.
Guys, look at these groups. That first group has Beast, the greatest Protoss of all time. Tomorrow, we will have the return of Rain, the StarCraft 2 legend, alongside Effort in an amazing group. Of course, Effort, the second best Zerg there ever was at the peak of Brood War. Group C has two of the 6 dragons in Stork and Free. Group D, the greatest gamer of all time, Flash. Group E, the greatest Zerg of all time, Jaedong. And Group F, the smartest Terran, the Nestea of StarCraft 1 during its prime, Mind. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
There's so many, and I didn't even get to name all the great players here. Look at this, Sulky's back. We have Best. We have 4 of the 6 dragons. We have so many finalists here from various StarLeagues. Like, it's just an insanely awesome season.
You didn't even mention Berserker used to go by Iris.
Yes.
That guy was almost at that tippity top level. And
He's a StarLeague finalist.
Yep.
And possibly the most aggressive top-end Terran that we've ever had.
Yep, innovated while he was playing. And of course, focusing on our group here tonight, Bisu, Larva, Sasin, and I Am Mang, or Guenshi, if you guys remember him. All players who have really had their moment in the spotlight. I guess Larva more recently, since he's been really practicing up really hard. If you guys watch a lot of AfreecaTV, he's been streaming a whole lot, so you've gotten a chance to see him there, and hopefully sort of revenging himself from his performance in last year's StarLeague.
Yeah, talking more about this group, of course, you guys should know who Bisu is, but if you don't, hey, welcome to the Brood War stream. This game is amazing. This started off esports in the right way, and Bisu's the greatest Protoss of all time. Larva, as you were saying, recently he's had a lot of success. He got top 5 on the Fish server this month in the ladder, which is the #1 ladder on Earth right now for StarCraft 1, and in fact even had a winning record against Bisu and a great record against Gyumchi, who's going by I Am Mang for some reason here. And then we have Sashin, who's just kind of like this guy that was a pro gamer but never did anything in StarCraft 1.
Right.
But here he is, so I don't know. We'll see how good he is, how much he's been practicing.
He didn't have a whole lot of games, and of course played mostly just recently in the amateur leagues, at least from what I could tell. He also, I guess, went by Ample for a while, but he's using Sashin for now. And now we're actually going to head into an interview with our first 2 players tonight.
제가 또 이제 평소에 스타크래프트를 즐겨하는 팬으로서 이번 ASL 굉장히 기대 중인데요. 앞으로 저 연지와 함께하는 ASL 여러분도 기대 많이 해주세요. 자, 그러면 우리 첫 번째 선수를 만나볼까요? 김태경 선수.
All right,
네,
so
안녕하세요. 네, 김태경 선수.
First is Bisu. Hello. Hello to you, Bisu.
이몽규 선수가 평소에
You're playing against Larva in your first match here today.
소감이 좀 기분이 어떠실까요?
We know that you played a lot of matches against Larva. How do you feel?
네.
I played against him in a lot of tournaments.
미안하다.
오늘도 좀 미안해질 것 같아요.
I feel sorry for defeating him most of the time.
저기 표정이 안 좋아요 지금.
And I'm going to be sorry once more today.
또 이번 시즌에는 택배미스상이 또 다 함께하는 시즌이잖아요. 부담감이 좀 되시겠어요.
네, 그동안은 이제 저 혼자 출전하다가
So,
이제
Bisu, Jaedong, Flash, and Stork all playing in this tournament, top 4 of all time.
하는 사람이
And he's saying it's the first time the 4 of us have gathered together in one tournament.
열심히 하고 있으니까 많이 기대해 주세요.
And we're going to have to prove that we are still the best players in StarCraft. And I hope that you all are looking forward for our matches. And yes, we are, Bisu, just to answer that for you.
그냥 뭐 많이
How did you
준비할 것도
prepare for
없고
today's
그냥
match?
기본기 싸움인 것 같고요. 오늘 4명 다 좀 출중해가지고 실력이.
I trust my fundamentals, so I didn't really have a specific practice plan.
네, 감사드립니다. 그러면 오늘 마지막으로 이제 또 김태경 선수
I hope I can be ready for the first match and be warmed up.
팬들에게 한 말씀 부탁드립니다.
Any final comments to your
빨리 이기고
fans?
빨리 집요하겠습니다.
감사합니다. 아주 간단명료한 인터뷰였습니다.
I hope I can win quickly and go home early tonight.
이몽규
Gonna
선수.
catch that subway out of here just in time.
네, 안녕하세요. 이몽규 선수. 근데
And now we
잠깐만.
have Larva here, his
이몽규 선수
opponent
어떻게
for
된
game
거예요?
number
제가
1.
좀
His
저번에
sick
본 것 같은데
ASL
좀 모습이
hoodie.
많이
See what Larva has to
달라졌어요.
say.
요새
Says, it seems like your appearance changed a lot since last season. Larva says, I gained a lot of weight since then, but my fingers are ready to go.
네, 아무튼 김태경
So I
선수
think
이렇게
I can show a great
많이
performance here
제가
tonight.
이렇게 지는 모습을 좀 봤어요.
여태까지는
네.
많이 졌는데 지금 2달 동안은 제가
Because recently
밀리지 않고
I've
있거든요.
lost a lot
그렇기
to
때문에
Bisu,
이번
but
대회에서만큼은
I
제가
won
뭔가
a couple of
보여줄 수 있지
games
않을까
against him
생각이
recently.
김태경 선수를 이기기 위해서
So I think I can do better this time around.
하셨나요?
일단은 제가 프로게이머 때 김태경 선수가 벤젠맵 전담 이제 선수였었는데 제가 또 연습을 도와주는
So when Bisu was a
그런
pro gamer,
선수였거든요.
he was
그래서 최근에
very
이제
good
프로토스전을 인터넷에서 한 판도 안 졌어요.
at defending our first map.
이번에는
So
뭔가 다를 것이다. 한 판도 안 졌다 최근에는.
I've prepared
각오가 아주
sufficiently
좋습니다.
to
그러면은
counter him in that map.
이몽규 선수 하면은
So I hope
항상
you all
여자친구
look forward to
네.
같이
my
이렇게
strategy.
다니시는데 좀 여자친구분에게 응원은 들으셨나요?
이제 와이프예요.
와이프.
So you're known to bring your girlfriend to the studio a lot. She says now she's
긴장하지
my wife.
말라고 들었었는데 옛날에
She told me not to be nervous
직원일 때
on stage.
우황청심환 같은 걸 사다 줬는데 어제는 또 어제랑 오늘은 입술로 긴장하지 말라고 표현을 했죠.
And she gave me a lot of
감사합니다.
kisses, so I won't be
감사합니다.
nervous.
솔직한 인터뷰 감사합니다. 이몽규 선수도 이제 팬분들에게 한 말씀 하셔야죠.
일단은 맨날
Any
떨어지는
comments
모습만
to your
보여드렸는데
fans, Larva?
그래도 제가 16강에는 항상 갔거든요. 그래서
He
오늘은
says, I was
떨어지지 않을 것
always
같으니까
knocked out
기분
early
좋아하셔도
on
좋을 것 같습니다.
in this
네,
tournament.
감사합니다.
But
이몽규 선수 인터뷰였습니다.
Almost, I want to make it to the round of 16, so that's my goal this time around.
생소하게 느낄 수도 있는 선수분이에요. 우리 김태형 선수.
Now to
안녕하세요,
our
김태형
player,
선수.
Sasha.
네,
Terran
김태형
player?
선수 팬분들이 굉장히 많으신 것 같은데, 네, 김태형 선수 어떻게 김승현 선수와 대결을 이번이 처음이시죠?
네.
어떤 식으로 좀 준비를
You're playing
하셨나요?
against Iamong or Gyeongchi.
온라인으로는
It's your
되게
first time
많이
playing against him.
했거든요. 승현님이 대회 때마다 테란전 걸리면 저한테 연습 도와달라고 해가지고.
It's my first time playing against him offline, but I played a lot online with him. I know how he plays.
잘할 수 있을 것
I
같아요.
know how good he is.
그러면 김태형 선수의
So I'm really well
이번
prepared for
시즌
today's match.
어디까지일까요?
저는 목표는 없고요.
What's your goal for this season?
영호랑 오프라인에서
I don't really have a specific goal,
그러니까
영호가 있는 데까지.
지금 간영호를 향해서
but I really want to play against Flash in an offline tournament.
네.
영호랑 게임하고
It's probably his hero. Most Terran players, that is your hero right there.
Most people on planet Earth.
Well, it should be, right?
Right.
Should be.
네,
좀 어떻게 모르는 분들이 많으실 것 같아요. 자기 어필을 좀 해주셔야 될 것 같아요.
KT에서 11달밖에 없었어가지고.
You're on KT with him?
예선이나
I only played in KT for 11 months, and I wasn't able to play in the Pro League.
네, 결론은 설거지였다. 뭐
네,
그런
뭐
말씀.
I did well in the practice house.
감사합니다. 네, 인터뷰
And the
감사하고.
qualifiers.
네. 마지막으로 가지 마시고.
So I hope a lot of fans get to know my name for this tournament. He's ready to get out of here, guys. You can tell he's not really had a whole lot of stage time.
예상하시는 분들이 많은데 그 예상에 힘입어서 올라가도록 하겠습니다.
좋은 모습 기대하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
A lot of people are predicting me
우리
to
이제
advance from this group, so I don't want to disappoint them.
저기 김승현 선수.
And I want to go ahead and advance in the round of 16.
김승현 선수. 네. 이제 또 무엔터
Now it's time for Iamong. He is formerly known as Gwenchi.
해주던가요?
You guys remember him playing in a lot of StarLeagues. So he's in a group called Moo Entertainment.
네, 오늘
They're doing a separate broadcast right now to cheer for me right now, so I don't want to disappoint them.
김태형 선수를 잘 모르시는 분도 많겠지만
네.
게이머 사이에는 굉장히 실력자거든요. 그래서 긴장하지 않고 열심히
So
준비했고요.
even though a lot of fans don't know Hashin right now, but I know that he's a very strong player. I've played against him offline a lot,
이런 말씀을 하셨는데 오늘 막 붙을 수도 있게 됐어요.
or online.
어떠신가요, 기분이?
So during your interview, you said that you wanted to play against Bisu in the finals, but you actually might play against him here tonight.
멋있을 것 같고 좋을 것 같아서
So because he's known as the best Protoss player, I want to play against him and see how good I am. It's going to be an honor if I get to play against Bisu tonight.
하면은 또 이게 이 역행을 진짜로 좋아하시는 건지 아니면은 좀 어떻게 컨셉인지 제가 또 그 부분이 궁금하거든요. 네, 많은 팬분들도 좀 궁금해하시고.
진짜로 좋아합니다. 그리고 제가
So he's known to love to watch a lot of female broadcasters on AfreecaTV.
감사합니다. 솔직한 인터뷰
And he
감사합니다. 또
says,
이제 마지막으로
yeah,
각오한 말씀 드립니다.
it's nice to meet you all. I always watch a lot of your broadcasts.
필살기 준비했거든요. 멋진 게임으로 보답해드리겠습니다.
감사합니다.
Today is going to be a hard road for me, but I've prepared a lot of strategies, so please look forward to my play.
정말 다 대단한데
Right.
과연
And if you're confused about what just happened there, he is actually a pretty popular streamer on AfreecaTV, which is the top streaming platform in Korea. And there's a really great article about the way that he trolls people's streams. That's like kind of what he does outside from stream StarCraft 1. So there's on teamluka.net, you can check that out. Just like look for Gyeongchi on there. And it's really recent, like within the last month or so, I think it was written. And it's quite funny actually what he does. But
yeah, it's its own little story. So definitely go check that out.
Yeah.
And, you were actually telling me a little bit earlier about another kind of interesting story about Gyeongchi before we get into this.
So okay, he changed his name to Iamong, I guess. this, but his name in Brood War was Gyumchi, but he was on the clan C, and C Gyumchi actually means spinach. So there was like a lot of stuff like that where Koreans would make funny things with their names. It's like, oh, the clan tag plus this makes this, haha. But yeah, anyways, basically his ID translated to English from StarCraft 1 was spinach.
So it did change that for this tournament. Here you can see your schedule for the round of 24. Of course, later on through the tournament on your screen, we're going to be broadcasting pretty much 3 days a week, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday for at least the round of 24. And then, of course, same situation, Sunday and Tuesday for the round of 16. Of course, going on, we're just going to have a full week of games.
Yeah, this is like nonstop, guys. We are going to be going right through to the finals in the end of January. So I'm really excited to be casting a ridiculous amount of StarCraft 1 here. And it's good to have you, Rapid. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
You're so nice, Toastus. And of course, joining us as well is a ton of prize money. You can see it right there. It's going to be 20 million won for first place. It's about $18,000 if you guys want to think about it that way. And everybody that plays gets at least $100 for showing up to the ASL because the prize pool is sort of divvied up that way. So it's pretty cool to see so much money on the line for the best Brood War on planet Earth.
Now, you might notice it is going to be a group format, kind of like a GSL group, but best of ones. StarCraft 1 games take longer than StarCraft 2 games. Almost always. It can be pretty hard to kill your opponent early on and whatnot, so they do more best of ones in StarCraft 1. And also, the game is less volatile, I guess is a good way to put it. StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2, because it's so mechanically based that if you have better mechanics than your opponent, as long as you, like, let's say, don't die to something dumb like you don't have detection when DTs come, you know, you're gonna a lot more of the time kill your opponent like more steadily.
Right.
So there's less sharp strategies that can catch you off guard and kill you in StarCraft 1 because it's more of a mechanical game. But we can talk about that another time.
Let's talk about this guy, Kim Taek-young, on your screen, the best Protoss alive at the current moment. You can just see the list of titles. He's got a golden badge from his 3 MSL final victories, and you can just see his win record versus Zerg specifically, 70%. Like, that's just actually insane. Of course, great win rate against all the other races too.
If you have over 50%, you're a fantastic pro gamer, because this guy is not playing jobbers, guys. He's not sitting on the ladder getting this win percentage. This is against the best players in the world, 70%. And he was called the Revolutionist. Like, he literally changed PvZ. PvZ was a matchup that was somewhat imbalanced before Bisu came along and destroyed Savior and showed us all how you should play. So definitely there is not a more fearsome Protoss in that matchup in the world ever. He is the greatest there has ever been for Protoss, especially in Protoss vs. Zerg.
Now, he's going up against a Zerg here, so definitely a favored matchup, but Larva specifically actually predicted by a lot of Team Liquid analysts and other people out there to make it out of this group. So just kind of checking out his results, he's barely ever made it past like the round of 16. He does have a few round of 8 finishes in these regional star leagues, but just really not quite on that same level of pedigree as Bisu.
No, certainly, and this is something that's also going to be an interesting story for this season. And I mean, this is one of the guys that came up after StarCraft 1 quote-unquote ended, right? Like, we had a prime, we had a peak in StarCraft 1 that ended in about 2010, where StarCraft 2 started to draw away players, prizes, tournaments, and that kind of sapped StarCraft 1 for a while. So some guys stayed with it, like Larva. They really rose up in the ranks and became some of the top players. But now that we have so many of the very best ever back, will these guys be able to keep up?
Well, that's actually what we got a chance to see last season, with even Flash struggling very early on in the tournament, which was very surprising to a lot of people. And now we get a chance to see Bisu face off against Larva, sort of the old school god of Protoss versus a very strong, new, up-and-coming Zerg. Of course, both players very, very popular in their own rights. So get out there, guys. Tell your friends that Bisu is playing Brood War again. It is such a good time to be alive, and I cannot wait to get into our first game tonight.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty sick, man. Bisu, definitely one of the favorites of the tournament. Won that KT Giga Legends match in Busan just, what was that, like a week ago? 2 weeks ago? I don't know.
Couple weeks. Time flies when you're having fun.
I don't know, man. I just sit in my house and play StarCraft all day. I don't even look at calendars. But here we go, guys. It is going to be match number 1 between Bisu and Larva. All right, in the top right, the legendary Protoss himself, one of the best players of all time, it is Bisu.
And on the bottom left of our map, Benzene. This is your Zerg player Larva.
Okay. Very excited about this match. I want to see Larva do better than last season. He definitely did not perform to the levels that I had heard that he had reached, but you know, it's tough, man. You go in these tournaments, like there's a lot of players that are fantastic in practice, fantastic on ladder, and if they're playing against opponents that aren't too scary, they can do well. But one of the things about the very best, most legendary StarCraft 1 guys like Bisu, there is so much history with Bisu, and he is so scary that just by virtue that his name is Bisu, people will lose to him. Yes. Even if he doesn't play well, they will be freaked out because this guy is literally a god of gaming.
Yeah, it's like you're playing like a 1 versus 1.5 because you're also fighting his name and his legacy, which we'll get a chance to see in action for the first time in a tournament in a very long while. He declined to participate in the first ASL, but we finally got him in here. We drug him through the door, and here he is playing some Brood War. So the best unit in the game currently out on the map for Bisu, the Protoss Probe. Ready to go win the game by itself.
This is how I know you're smart, is that you've mentioned that the Probe is the best unit in the game, because it is. And this is like only a half joke, guys. In StarCraft 1, the workers function a lot differently than StarCraft 2. Like, for instance, they had to nerf the SCV in StarCraft 2 because it has 60 hit points in StarCraft 1. And they were like linebackers. Like, you could do a lot with them. And in StarCraft 2, at the beginning, there were too many SCV Marine Rushes. They were too strong. They had to nerf that down to 45 health. In this game, though, they needed 60 health because the Probe actually has better range than an SCV, and it has faster acceleration than the other workers.
Just look at what you saw it do right there. It slid right through the drone, was already fully accelerated, and just denying so long the placement of this extra hatchery.
Man, see, that is some crazy Probe micro. Oh, he almost stopped it again there. But, and people might be thinking, why does it have quicker accel? Well, Protoss units cost more. There's a lot of different things about StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2, and this is one of them. Like, the acceleration of the probes helps you to mine a little bit more as Protoss. So that's used a lot to harass with the probe because you can just kind of you can almost kite other workers and stuff like that.
Right, and Zerg units don't get extra movement speed on creep in Brood Wars, so you can actually just never die for the first, I don't know, several minutes of the game.
They definitely need some Zerglings to chase you down at that point, but you can still keep it alive for a long time. The shield regen starts a little bit quicker than StarCraft 2, but doesn't regen quite as quickly. But anyways, all that stuff aside, looking at what we got here, looks like already 3 bases going up for Larva.
Wow, so already getting his his tendrils out on the map, and this map is Benzene. It's a map that at least I hadn't seen since pretty much the end of what was the previous era of Brood War and Pro League. It's fairly standard. I don't think it's got anything too crazy. It does have some stacked power reactors on the sides that you can kill with AoE or just spend time taking down to get an easier way to reach the top half of the map.
Now, this is interesting that Larva has gone for such a very fast third, very far away, and he was talking about how he's prepared a specific strategy and that people should be excited to watch him here against Bisu because Bisu has shown a lot of skill in this map in the past. So this is what I find interesting about it, right, is that Bisu is the best Protoss at multitasking by far. Like, every Protoss has superpowers, and that's his, is multitasking. Like, really, the 6 dragons all played completely different from each other, and he is the multitasking god. Like, he will attack multiple locations and micro everything perfectly. So it's interesting that Larva thinks that this is the way to do it, and I mean, maybe he's right. Let's see.
Now, one of the things that's so cool about Brood War is that it's not the same game as time goes on. You have very different styles that you need to play, different things that you have to worry about. So what do we really have to watch out for as this game is kind of setting up in the first 5 or 10 minutes?
Well, right now, with Bisu going into his standard type of play, he's making some Zealots to keep some pressure on the map and to check out what's going on. And he's going into Corsairs, and this is very common for Bisu. Like, even if you watch him stream nowadays, this is basically how he plays, is getting a lot of Corsairs, push Overlords around. Eventually he'll get into Charge for his Zealots. Eventually he'll get into Dark Templars, pushing those Overlords around, of course, with the Corsairs. And he's going to want to run around a whole hell of a lot with those Zealots, gaining advantages, forcing Zerglings, killing off Hydras as they're popping out and things like that. But
now this is going to be a 3-hatch Muta build here from Larva, so I don't think it's been scouted just yet either. So we'll get a chance to see how good that is.
Was he making a second Stargate?
That's what I saw. So either that's heavy Corsair count, or what's up with that?
That would be for heavy Corsair. So he might be looking at this and saying, okay, it looks like maybe you're going for a Spire build. Because normally, like, let's say if he wasn't going Spire, if he was going like Hydra Ling, you don't actually want 2 Stargate Corsair. It doesn't really make sense. It only hits air units. It's like a Phoenix kind of.
No, you put down the D-Web on the Hydras.
Yeah, there you go. That'll work like a charm. Now, the Overlord is actually scouting both of the Stargates, so that's pretty good for Larva here to know that that's coming, but he's already invested into the Spire, and when you hit that critical mass of Corsairs, like, Scourge can't even really hit them anymore.
Right, they just die too quickly, and this is kind of different from the 3-hatch Muta builds that we've seen. The 3rd hatchery in that, I believe, wasn't an actual base; it was just a macro hatch. But this time, these are actually all bases. They're spread out, and against a player like Bisu, who's so good at multitasking, that might make it even more difficult for Larva to defend.
That's why I found it kind of interesting that this is the strategy he wants to go for, but he said it's map specific, so we'll see how it goes down for him. Like, he went for the Spire, which can be very good when you do have maps that are bases are far apart, right? Because your Mutas are the most mobile unit in the game. But with the double Stargate Corsair, he can't really make Mutalisks. And we see that Bisu, he's getting +1 air attack, really smart, because Corsairs fire quicker than anything in the game. It's like ridiculous, and it's splash damage, so that's going to really help out against the Scourge.
Here come the first 2 Scourge. They will fly right on by, and nothing actually happens. That's always kind of the test of how good of a Protoss player you are. It's like how quickly you react and can kill those Scourge in the air before they start to whittle down that Corsair count.
Now, Hydras are popping out. Looks like we're already on 5-hatch Hydra here for Larva, or we're just about to be with this one finishing up. And that means that he can make a whole hell of a lot of units. He even has a Spore here that's going to help with detection and pushing those Corsairs back. But Bisu, he's sitting here on 2 bases just making his charge lots right now.
Now, one of the
speed lots, sorry. Oh, my God.
They are actually just so fast once you do get that upgraded. We're just seeing these Corsairs poke around the map, trying to figure out what's going on, get the scouting information, and try to find any Overlords out of position. But one thing that actually could be really cool as we see this game develop is really how Bisu decides to play that. He was always one of the big Corsair DT kind of masters, but that's not quite what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and he can't, like, he's getting his Templar Archives, so we'll probably see him make a DT or 2, but DTs aren't going to do very much. We already have multiple Spores on the map, and he's protecting his Overlords pretty well. What we are going to see definitely is Psystorm and a lot of Speed Zealots. And, I mean, those 2 together can do very well against Hydras, but right now this macro is really picking up for Larva.
Certainly does have a lot of his actual... Okay, well, that's what Corsairs do, guys.
Yeah. They do splash damage, guys, and they shoot so fast. And with that +1, I mean... That is insanely quick damage output. So Bisu's still getting work done with these despite the static D.
And so what you're going to see with that static defense is a lot of Spore colonies, which don't help against Zealots at all. So it's really sort of, you have to kind of play on both fronts right now as far as Larva is concerned. So he does have, like you said, his macro going full blast. He hasn't decided to take an extra base, so he's just building up the ones that he has. And it finally looks like Bisu is ready to commit to try to pressure this upper left-hand base.
But with 2 Sunken colonies, Sunkens are like a lot stronger than Spines. They really have a lot of health and deal quite a decent amount of damage. So I mean, that looks like an unbreakable location, and the wall that he has at his actual natural is something you don't really want to try to run Zealots past. So it feels like he's forcing Bisu into a longer game here, and Bisu, he's acknowledging that by taking a 3rd base.
The thing that's so interesting to me, and maybe this was kind of a fake or something, there's no air units built for Larva, and he went Spire first, so kind of questioning what's going on there.
Well, I think when he scouted the double Stargate, he's like,
that would be a bad idea.
I guess I'll make some Scourge and maybe hope to catch some, because, hey, you catch the first 2 Corsairs, suddenly you're in the green, right?
Yep.
But
you just get ahead of that number, and now with so many Corsairs out, that's just not really going to be a fight that Larva can win.
Well, right now, Larva moving out on the map. He has so many Hydras that you have to be very careful with these Corsairs. You can't really push the Overlords back quite as easily, but Psystorm plus Zealots can do a number on him. The thing is, like, if he spreads correctly over here, this could be very hard for Bisu to hold on to.
And he does have multiple control groups of Hydras all kind of spread around. Units clump up a lot more in StarCraft 2, just the way the rally system works. So here, it's actually a little bit easier to keep them spread out, unless you do have to go over those big bridges, which are big choke points for the Protoss.
Ooh, and look at that. That is a nice spread of Hydras there. The Zealots do have to turn around. Your control groups only have 12 units in them here, so you can see sometimes stuff's going to get stuck. He's using multiple He's trying to run away. Makes it pretty tough. But likewise for the Zerg. If he tries to go over that bridge, Psystorm will rip him apart.
Yeah, so nice choke points. You can see Bisu defending very, very adequately at this point. Still no fourth coming up here for Larva, so just content to macro off here. And this is just such a game, a close game, trying to find out, who can get the one up. And now we start to see lurkers being morphed.
Yeah, that's an interesting one right there. Like, he started some and then canceled after the Corsairs went out of vision. So maybe he's trying to trick him into going into some other tech, or he doesn't. Now he wants to make an attack, thinking he's going to start countering that, but here he goes. He's trying to get over this bridge. Some really strong Psystorms come out of Bisu, though.
Yeah, it should be mentioned, Psystorms and Brood War are actually so good. They deal 1 million damage, and anything underneath pretty much just dies.
Pretty much. They definitely do a lot more damage than in StarCraft 2, so they're a great defense against something like Hydras.
Yeah, if you can find those choke points like you just saw there across those bridges, that's pretty much a dead zone that you won't see Larva really be able to break for now. However, with lurkers coming out does mean that as the game goes on later and later, those are going to start to be very, very strong defensive units of their own.
Now, I also like that he's already got his, look at this, a DT drop coming up, pushing everything out of here. That's really annoying. And in fact, taking down the Spire would be great. That's an expensive tech unit. But I also like that Bisu already is protecting against those lurkers that we saw trying to walk around the bottom. Like, he is really, really precise with his defense here. Those two are stopping lurkers from getting up there in case that's what Larva's trying.
Yeah, absolutely beautifully played. Now, DT should finally get cleaned up there before it is able to take down the spawning pool, but it did snipe the Spire, like you mentioned.
That's a really big deal. The switches, tech switches into mutas. Oh my god, especially when things like this happen. If you lose your Corsairs and then you still have a Spire, you might just die to a muta switch. That could just happen, but now that he's killed that, he doesn't even have to worry. Even though he lost his Corsairs very sloppily, it's not going to cost him the game, most likely.
Now, here we're actually going to see a little bit of a fight as a wall of Hydras tries to push into the rest of the Dragoons coming forward. Not the greatest storm for Hydras, but it does kill a couple lurkers.
Now, you're going to see a lot of micro here where he tries to pick off the Observer. We see that actually the Overlords get picked off, so he can't even see them anymore. But Bisu with double Observers pushing forward, taking out those lurkers so quickly. And it feels like Larva's in a little bit of trouble right now.
Now he's going to try to break down this pylon wall to get behind that mineral line, but it's just a little bit slow here, so he's not in the best position, but still will get quite a few probes.
Yeah, very annoying for Bisu as he's attacking, but that means he can probably take down this fourth base, at least force a cancel right there. Larva coming up with Hydras from his main base area and flanking from the top as well.
There's just too much Protoss here, and that entire force of Hydras will get cleaned up. Now, they will be kind of flanked up there towards the top, but there's storms to zone off the rest of Larva's forces.
And here's the thing, though. These Dragoons, the Zealots getting away from the Dragoons. Oh, the Psystorms are so good, though. Dragoons die very quickly to Hydras, and we saw a lot of that happening, but Bisu is doing a fantastic job here of clearing out everything with the storms.
Yeah, and really the SimCity kind of funneling Larva's units together, setting up for some great storms. Archons pretty much just don't die. You can see it taking so many hits there. I think it actually will finally die as it was morphed pretty far forward. Okay, there.
It was morphed in range of a sunken colony, so I mean, I guess that was fated to go, but definitely you're right. Archon's quite beefy in this game. And with only the Dragoons left, he's got to get these reinforcements up. Dragoons, they're like a support unit in this match. You don't want to have only Dragoons fighting.
Right, so Speed Zealots continuing to try to just kind of close off that bottom base, and Bisu had already had a fifth so far ahead that it gives up the GG with Bisu in the victory.
All right, very good play there from Bisu. He reacted nicely. I don't think he actually saw the Spire before he went double Stargate Corsair.
That's that Star Sense.
You know what? That's what we call it, Star Sense in StarCraft 1. If you just kind of feel it and you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But he like preempted the tech of Larva here and never let go of the game from there on. Like, that was masterfully done from Bisu, really showing his skill here.
Absolutely incredible. You can see at no point during that game did he ever really look caught off guard. He made a nice decisive cut to deny the fourth base, and at that point Larva really just could not find any additional foothold out on the map.
Well, Larva, he's got a tough way to go now, right? But don't forget that this is one of those GSL-style groups, so he might not have to play Bisu again. And, Gyumchi is actually still in quite good shape, but he's not the same type of player as Bisu. He's not as strong as Bisu. So, Larva, maybe he can get out in second.
Well, that's going to do it for our first game. Like you mentioned, Dan, this is going to be GSL style, so top 2 players will advance out of this group. So at least just looking at things, we do have a guy like Larva who still has to prove himself after a weaker performance in the last ASL. We've got like guys like Gwemchi who used to be very, very on top of his game back in the day, but we really haven't seen perform in any leagues just yet. And we're going to get a chance to see him go up against a guy named Ample, now Sashin, which you actually mentioned might be a guy from like way, way back.
Yeah, it takes so long for people to rise up, and there's a lot of names that go around that people use. Like Sashin was also a very famous clan back in the day, so not sure exactly if this is one of those guys I knew in the amateur days. But anyways, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, it's going to be Gyumchi against Sashin.
김치 사발면, 큰 튀김우동 사발면 편의점에서 구입할 수 있어요. 와, 근데 이거 봐요. 그냥 진짜 생김치네. 김치 건더기가 엄청나게 부지매요. 김치찌개 느낌? 쿠키 같아, 쿠키. 뜨거운 거에 넣었는데 바삭바삭한 게 남아있어. 솔직한 맛평가. 김치 건더기가 진짜 많아요. 요거는 진하고 우려낸 듯한 느낌? 튀김우동이 되게 매력적이다.
제주항공 시뮬레이터 체험관에 있거든요. 오늘 함께 승무원분들이랑 같이 먹어보면서 소개해드릴 거고요. 와, 이게 더 신기하네요. 오!
한번 드셔보시겠어요?
네.
미디움 정도.
한 입 씹으면요, 입안에 육즙 같은 게 확 퍼지거든요.
그 리액션 한 번만 해주시면 안 돼요?
아유, 감사합니다. 아이고.
기호에 따라서 선택을 하셔서 맛있게 드실 수 있으실 것 같아요. 덕분에 잘 먹었습니다.
오늘 이렇게 보니 나 심쿵 내 꽃잎 내 불에다 뽀뽀를 해주세요. 아니 내가 확만 친다. 뽕뽕뽕 느리야 뽕.
마블 히어로즈. 제가 사실 이제서야 밝히는 겁니다. 마블 소속입니다. 이제 이 로파이더맨과 함께 마블 좋아하면 키우는 거 재밌을 것 같아서 재밌지? 와! 여기 유저들이랑 다 같이 막 이동을 하면서 깨지는 거라. 마블 히어로즈 2016 마스터. 자기만의 캐릭터를 육성하면서 활용해주는 게 굉장히 중요하네요. 파워. 그린 고블린 고스트라이더 나이트크롤러 취향 저격하셔가지고 플레이하시면 됩니다. 개인적으로 난 아이언맨도 한번 플레이해보고 싶어요.
여러분 예뻐지고 싶죠? 여러분 이거 보신 분 있는 분 토니모리 정말 살짝 이거 봐 여자는 이래서 메이크업을 해야 한다니까? 디제니께서 포토샵을 현실로 안 해라고 하셨는데 오마이갓 사랑한다. 지워지지 않아야 되는 게 포인트야. 이렇게 푸시하는 걸 눌러주면 돼요. 이렇게 하라고. 어때요 여러분? 야, 너무 예쁜 거 아니야 이거 지금? 앞으로도 사랑해주세요.
오션엔 엠파이어 깔고 들어오세요. 개꿀잼입니다. 바로 시작합니다. 와, 전다 올라오고 있죠. 그 멋있죠. 보는 것도 개재밌다. 근데 하면 더 재밌어요. 자, 이제 그럼 나가가지고 공격을 한번 해보겠습니다. 함선 건조. 여기서 함선을 만들 수가 있어요. 실시간으로 이런 식으로 함선이 만들어져가지고 나가는 게 보인다라는 거죠. 자기 만든 함선을 또 꾸밀 수도 있어요. 돛도 제가 이거 꾸민 거고. 개물개. 좀 위협적이게 생겼네요. 등껍질에 밥 비벼 먹고 싶네. 와, 레벨업 7입니다, 여기들. 쫙쫙 올라가요.
베이스 제품을 짜잔! 더 블랙티 런던 클래식 세럼이라는 이게 안티에이징이 이렇게 있는 제품인데요. 짜잔! 이게 딱 파운데이션 같은 색상으로 잘 나왔어요. 이거 바른 날에는요, 여러분 그냥 화장이 아예 안 번진다고 보시면 돼요. 짱이에요. 이거 진짜 너무 예뻐가지고. 예쁘죠? 아, 예뻐. 이 색깔 봐봐.
최고의 라면이죠. 동심 아닙니까? 와 고급지다. 와 시김 이만한 거 본 사람 있냐? 오 해자다 올라오는데요. 이건 인정해야 됩니다. 컵라면에서 혁명까지. 내가 본 컵라면 중에 김치맛이 제일 살아요. 이건 팩트야 팩트. 와 대박이다 진짜로. 와 국물 질입니다. 감칠맛 나요. 주변 편의점에서 함께합니다. 김치 끄자발 큰 튀김우동 끄자발 굉장히 맛있습니다. 와.
네, 좀 신기하죠?
와, 굉장히 특이한 모양. 와.
오! 돼요? 이거 조금만 해가지고 다 배우면 될 것 같은데? 혓바닥 모양으로 된.
닭발 같은 모양 있잖아요. 미키마우스 손 같은데? 예? 차홍 선생님의 기술력을 한껏 담은 제품이 바로 이 스타일러고요.
차홍 핸디 스타일러 많이 사랑해주세요.
Oh yes, I like the flavor. Oh yes, I like the flavor. Touch the sun, feel the cold. We all die, shining old
Welcome back to the ASL. This is season 2, guys, and it is going to be a fantastic one. We got ourselves an actual StarLeague going on right now. Many of the best players of all time have qualified. They have all returned to StarCraft 1, and we get to cast them for you.
They've been in exile up in the Himalayas. We've called them out of their caves, and they are here in Seoul, South Korea to play once again the most mechanically demanding game ever to exist on this planet.
No question about that. And no one even tries to argue it.
I don't know, my dad told me Pong was pretty hard back in the day. No! It is not.
No, Dad! You don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, here we can see one of our players here. This is Sashin, or Sasin, if you guys want to pronounce it just the way that it looks. See his results in many StarLeagues, getting up there with one round of 4 finish, but really not that dominant of a player. Certainly a very new face to the scene.
Yeah, it's not a player that has had some sort of great success. He's definitely one of the big underdogs in this tournament. A lot of people are speaking highly of him. So obviously he's quite skilled. But even being the ASL, you have to be quite skilled indeed. Like Jaedong didn't even make it on his first try.
Yeah, that guy had to go down to Busan. He had to take the literal train to Busan and make it in there. Over 500 people I heard tried to qualify for this tournament.
Yeah, and a lot of people played.
Yeah, if you're one of the 24 to make it into these groups, like you're actually just so good. And maybe you're not a big name, but what matters is how well you play right now. And that could very well be the case with Sashin.
We do have some new guys in the tournament overall that really haven't done very much. This guy, on the other hand, he's done a pretty decent amount. He's changed his ID, I am Mong, I guess, but this was Yamchi way back in the day, and he was a strong Protoss. He had his ups and downs. He wasn't one of the best, but he was good enough that like you weren't going to turn off the TV when he had a match, that's for sure.
Yeah, very good point. You can see his round of 16 Nate MSL finish. That's actually one of his most impressive games where he beat Bisu, I think 3-0 or something, and really kind of put himself on the map back in the day. But even right now, recently, he made it to round of 8 in the Advanced StarLeague, so still right on top of his game. It should be a very very, very good match here against his opponent.
Sasha.
I still want to say ample when I think about him, but I'm like, well, maybe you have an ample amount of skill, but that's not the word I would use to describe skill. It's like I am so ample right now. But Sashin, did you actually ever find out? I think it means like either.
It means like death or ninja, if I recall correctly.
Which, if you're a good ninja, is basically the same thing.
There was a strong clan in Korea that was known as Sashin back again in the day. Sorry, I have to say back in the day so much, guys. StarCraft has had such a long history. But here we go. This is going to be a lot of fun. Terran versus Protoss. Definitely one of my favorite matchups, but also one of the most frustrating out there. What type of style will Yumchi use?
Well, we're about to find out as we get into our second game of the night. It's going to be Sashin versus Wemchi or I Am Mong coming up.
Okay, the top right, our Terran player. Kind of a newcomer, Sashin. Well, truthfully, no one's a newcomer in StarCraft 1, really. That's at pro level. Takes years.
And, of course, down in the bottom left-hand corner of our map, Benzene. This is your teal Protoss player, I Am Mong.
Yeah, by the way, about I Am Mong, during his interview, he did say something to the effect of, you know, I was only on KT for about 11 months, so I didn't even get to play Pro League. Guys, this is actually very normal. When you were drafted, because there was actually drafts, you had to win your pro license, then you went into a draft, and teams might draft you, they might not draft you to be a StarCraft 1 pro. By the way, this looks like a proxy gate going down, so
oh boy.
I Am Mong being a little bit cheeky here, but that is not uncommon. Like, normally the coaches wouldn't really expect much out of you for a year after you join the team, and that's, you're already a professional, a licensed professional living in a team house. You're already God mode at the game, and then you join the team house, but you're not good enough for another year to play on TV. That, like, the development of StarCraft 1 players, there has never been anything like that in esports, nor do I believe there ever will be again.
Right, and that's actually what many esports are trying to build now. It actually just existed back in the day. You had players who were still better than 99.9% of all Brood War players that just weren't good enough because it takes so much time to hone the mechanical skills that it takes to play on this top level. Now, like you said, the proxy gate is coming out, even with this gas steal now here by the best unit in the game. The probe already getting this rush started.
Yeah, stealing a gas makes it a little bit stressful to deal with as Terran. You really need your gas units. Marines are kind of garbage in this game. StarCraft 2 Marines are vastly buffed from StarCraft 1. Like, they are kind of trash units in StarCraft 1. So to try to defend against the big, bulky Protoss army with them is tough. And look at this. This is what we were talking about with the acceleration. Notice how it's hard for him to even hit this probe.
Yeah, you got to reach out there with your mechanical arms, but if you watch the models of the SCV, the arms don't even move, Artosis.
No, they don't do much at all.
Makes it pretty hard to hit things. And of course, the probe also stealing away a little bit of gas from the refinery.
Okay, now look at this thing at Supply Depot. He's building that right there so he has a place to micro the Marine. It can run in between those, but the Zealot cannot fit in between those. So that's a very nice move. That's a way that he can out-micro incoming Zealots.
Yeah, very important construction. There's a lot of ways where it looks like that's the case, but it's not, so you do have to micro that, or at least know your building placement, and this is exactly what you're going to see here with this Marine.
Gets a little bit blocked there. And finally, he does take down the gas and gets to start his own, but these Zealots still going to be pretty annoying. A second Zealot already on the way, pulling these SCVs back as quickly as he can.
Wow, almost lost that Marine. It was one hit away, but should be pretty safe hiding there between the depots. Still a lot of solid harassment as his second Zealot gets ready to get into the base.
Ooh, you cannot be losing that Marine. Looks like the Zealots try to go in there for a little bit of a flank.
He's going to target it down. He actually saves both Marines.
Yeah, and by the way, workers just don't really get targeted by units. So there's a lot of glitching you can do with your miners drilling through units. So anyways, the Zealot's starting to get a lot of damage done here, picking off a couple of SCVs.
Very low health Marines, though, so that could actually start to snowball this against Sasa. And I am Mong now with 3 Zealots in the base.
Ooh, this is so much damage coming out. He's losing multiple Marines here. And
he's going to lose another one. Oh, my God. That might just be too much damage, Artosis.
It could be, actually. This has been extremely successful so far. To kill this many SCVs, lose this much mining time, and he's killed a lot of Marines, guys. Like, you still want to have these Marines. He hasn't even started a factory. Like, what the hell is he supposed to do? Oh, God, the Marine getting stuck there for a moment on the SCV. Oh, just brutal.
A couple of Zealots do finally get picked off here, but, I mean, SCV is getting lost, and while this is still 1 base versus 1 base, these Zealots are actually just dealing so much damage.
Yeah, this is something that's going to be hard to come back against.
Okay,
lose this much.
Nice trap there on the Zealot. Finally, I think Sasin is kind of stabilized, but what's the real, how did that change the landscape of the game?
Well, the thing is, like, during all that, he lost a lot of mining time. He lost a decent amount of SCVs. Look, his factory just started now, and we already have Dragoon range on the way.
Wow.
So Dragoons with range, like, even if you have a siege tank out, they don't start with siege mode in StarCraft 1, guys. So range Dragoons can actually fight against them reasonably well. He's probably going to have to make a bunker. And he might lose some SCVs trying to repair that while he gets his siege tanks out. And, I mean, that's it. He's just, like, tempo-wise, quite far behind right now.
Yeah, now that there is still a gateway way out on the map, so that might be one thing to take out, maybe limit a little bit of that production. Finally, a decent contingent of Marines out on the map, but just so many Marines dying so early, and now this ranged Dragoon just has no problem kiting those guys to death.
By the way, I do like what he's doing here with Double Factory, and he's moving out with the Marines, which I find a little bit more interesting. He's trying to kill off a Dragoon here, but Dragoons can really severely out-micro Marines. A lot of times they're more of a meat shield for the early game units like tanks behind them, but looks like he will withdraw for now. That Dragoon range almost done, so I Am Mong is going to get pretty aggressive with this.
And we're both on 1 base for now. That's not the same situation you'd find yourself if you're 1 basing in StarCraft 2. Bases in Brood War, you can stay on them for a while.
Oh, he catches this SCV rapid.
Just no scouting allowed.
Now, this was part of the reason why the Marines came out to engage the Dragoons. He wouldn't have lost any sitting on top of his ramp, but he wanted to get a scout out here to actually see what's coming. There could be a Reaver on the way. There could be an expansion or 2 on the way. There could be DTs on the way. He just doesn't know. He can't get any scouting done.
Wow, that was the longest Dragoon shot I've seen in a while. Heading out there, this SCV is still trying to get towards the base, but it looks like it will be intercepted. No, the Dragoon turning around.
Oh, my God.
This is going to be a very important scout for Sasin.
It's only got 1 hit left on it, too. So, oh my God, he just gets it. He just gets it right there.
That's like the second Dragoon range upgrade.
That's crazy.
It certainly is.
Poor Sashin. He was, I believe he was just out of range of seeing the Nexus. So he has very little intel right now.
And if he sees the Nexus, he's like, okay, well, at least my opponent's expanding behind this. But if there really is no Nexus, he could actually just be facing up against a death push coming in off of just 1 base.
Yeah, there's like a lot of things that could be happening. Now, because he has 2 factories, he's probably not too afraid of dying. The only thing that could really kill him might be Dark Templars, but he might even be getting mines right now. We're not really sure. But this is a nice, strong push out right now. Notice he's trying to pick off these siege tanks. Great micro back there. He loses one, unfortunately, but the Marines getting so much damage in.
Yeah, and you really do have to dive to target those tanks in the back, but maybe a little bit overextending there as he does lose quite a few Dragoons. But this kiting, the micro, just really on point from I Am Mong.
Yeah, he's trying to keep these alive as long as possible. Having taken that much damage with these Vultures now coming out, some sort of map control will go to Sashin. And, like, I mean, I Am Mong can kind of sit there and try to kite back against these Vultures, but as mines get out on the field, he's going to have a hard time moving his Dragoons around.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like he has Spider Mines just yet, or Siege Mode for that matter. I think that might be just finishing up. But these Vultures, they kill probes so fast, Artosis.
Yeah, that's almost an understatement right there. These things are crazy. 2 of them will one-shot a probe, laying down some fantastic Spider Mines, even next to the Robo to hit the Reaver when it comes out. Beautiful move right there.
Oh my God. Even Dragoons now dying inside the base, and all these probes off the line to try to stop these Vultures.
This is crazy. Oh, and he actually gets a surround on one. That's a big deal, having the damage coming out, but he's losing a lot of mining time and losing a lot of probes here.
Now, probes don't explode the Spider Mines because they're floating, so they don't step on them if you want to think about it that way. And he surrounds the second Vulture.
Great probe micro. Great probe surrounding there. It's almost like he's a Warcraft 3 player. God, that was super well done though, because those two vultures, if you don't surround them like that, you lose every single probe.
There's two Spider Mines killing off for Dragoon. You're seeing exactly how fast that was. I didn't actually catch if it caught the Reaver.
Now, they pop up, and he had the shuttle over, so I think he probably picked it up in time, but the observer moved the screen, so we're not 100% sure if those connected.
Still more Spider Mines being put down. So this is a Reaver inside a shuttle. They're very long range. It could be the secret to securing this base again.
The thing is, it moved away. It's possible that both the mines hit the Reaver and screwed it.
Oh my God.
I don't know. He's killing like all of these. Yeah, that's
There's
it.
just no probes left.
Wow.
So much early pressure, but just hanging on. Sawson survives and takes the win.
Yeah, that was a very quick game right there. And the thing is, Yemchi had a really fantastic start. Like, the Zealots did very well. The one thing I would say was definitely a mistake is when he had the Range Dragoons actually try to snipe the 3 siege tanks. He lost a lot of them there, and then he did not withdraw all the way home. And the thing is, he didn't have a lot of intel on exactly what his opponent was doing there. And with the Speed Vultures, he just got picked apart.
Yeah, nothing to stop those Vultures from just getting right inside the base. Spider-Mine placement just looked insanely good. And this guy is a face that we have to look at as one that could possibly be making it out of this round of 24 further in the ASL.
It is definitely a possibility. I am not feeling too great about Larva's ZVT chances. Obviously, he's very good at the matchup, but he's really much more of a ZVP specialist. So maybe Sashin can sneak out like that, or hell, his TVP looks strong there against Bisu. There's always a possibility. I mean, against Gemchi, there's always a possibility he could take down Bisu as well.
Yeah, there's 2 spots to get out of this. It's kind of unimaginable that Bisu doesn't make it out of the group just with his caliber of play, but I mean, anything can happen. These are best of ones, so even though they're longer games that do require you to be a much more solid, well-rounded player, I mean, just really great defense there. Sashin hung on through what we actually thought was maybe a little too much damage. He lost a lot of Marines.
The Zealot rush was really strong. You know, when you lose that many Dragoons, like if those Dragoons had pulled back into a defensive position, the Vultures never get in. And now he has a Reaver. Your command center is very late. He's in a good spot still. But, you know, he made that choice, and it just did not end up paying off.
Yeah, just got out a little bit overextended, tried to crush the game too quickly, and wound up getting punished because of that. So we're already starting to see quite a few different matchups. We haven't seen, you know, all of the perfect triangle of different matchups there. It'd be interesting to see if we do get a chance to see either like you know, the PvPs come out a little bit later on, because that is going to be exciting. We'll be coming back with our third game of the night here in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game number 3.
이건 영화 속 이야기도 누군가의 막연한 상상도 아니야. 누구도 기가를 본 적은 없지만 이미 기가 속에서 살아가고 있어. 이곳의 사람들은 감염병을 두려워하지 않아. 빅데이터로 병이 퍼지는 걸 막아주니까. 재난에 절망하는 사람도 없어. 어떤 상황에도 안전통신망이 세상과 연결해주니까. 에너지를 걱정하는 일도 없지. 복합 에너지 운영 시스템이 알아서 관리해주거든. 이것이 KT 네트워크의 힘. 미래는 기가로 이미 시작된 거야. KT.
큰 김치 사발면, 큰 튀김 우동 사발면 편의점에서 구입할 수 있어요.
와, 근데 이거 봐요.
오, 그냥 진짜 생김치네. 오, 김치 건더기가 엄청나게 부지매요. 김치찌개 느낌? 오, 쿠키 같아, 쿠키. 뜨거운 거에 넣었는데 바삭바삭한 게 남아있어. 솔직한 맛평가. 김치 건더기가 진짜 많아요. 요거는 진하고 우려낸 듯한 느낌? 튀김우동이 되게 매력적이다.
제주항공 시뮬레이터 체험관에 있거든요. 오늘 함께 승무원분들이랑 같이 먹어보면서 소개해드릴 거고요. 와, 이게 더 신기하네요. 오!
한번 드셔보시겠어요? 미디움 정도.
한 한입 씹으면요 입안에 육즙 같은 게 확 퍼지거든요.
그 리액션 한 번만 해주시면 안 돼요?
아이 감사합니다. 아이고.
기호에 따라서 선택을 하셔서 맛있게 드실 수 있으실 것 같아요. 덕분에 네, 잘 먹었습니다.
이렇게 보니 나 심쿵 내 꽃님 내불에다 뽀뽀를 해주세요. 아니 내가 확만 친다. 뽕뽕뽕 누리야.
마블 히어로즈. 제가 사실 이제서야 밝히는 겁니다. 마블 소속입니다. 이제 이 로파이더맨과 함께 마블 좋아하면 키우는 거 재밌을 것 같아서 재밌지. 와! 여기 유저들이랑 다 같이 막 이동을 하면서 깨지는 거라. 마블 히어로즈 2016 마스터. 자기만의 캐릭터를 육성하면서 활용해주는 게 굉장히 중요하네요. 파워. 그린 고블린, 고스트라이더, 나이트크롤러 시향 저격하셔가지고 플레이하시면 됩니다. 개인적으로 난 아이언맨도 한번 플레이해보고 싶어요.
여러분 피포 찍으시죠? 여러분 이거 보신 분 있는 분 토니모리 정말 살짝 이거 봐 여자는 이래서 메이크업을 해야 한다니까? 유제님께서 포토샵을 현실로 안 해라고 하셨는데 오마이갓 사랑한다. 지워지지 않아야 되는 게 포인트야. 이렇게 푸시하는 거야. 눌러주면 돼요. 이렇게 하라고. 어때요 여러분? 야, 너무 예쁜 거 아니야 이거 지금? 앞으로도 많이 사랑해주세요.
오션앤 엠파이어 깔고 들어오세요. 개꿀잼입니다. 바로 시작합니다. 와, 쩐다 올라오고 있죠. 그 멋있죠. 보는 것도 개재밌다가 하면 더 재밌어요. 자, 이제 그럼 나가가지고 공격을 한번 해보겠습니다. 함선 건조. 여기서 함선을 만들 수가 있어요. 실시간으로 이런 식으로 함선이 만들어져가지고 나가는 게 보인다라는 거죠. 자기 만든 함선을 또 꾸밀 수도 있어요. 돛도 제가 이거 꾸민 거고. 개물개. 좀 위협적이게 생겼네요. 등껍질에 밥 비벼 먹고 싶네. 와, 레벨업 7입니다, 여기들. 쫙쫙 올라가요.
세상이 미래를 상상할 때 우린 미래를 만들고 있어. 우린 자동차와 도로를 연결해 차들이 스스로 움직이는 길을 만들지. 빅데이터로 금융의 패러다임을 바꿔 은행을 찾아다닐 필요도 없어. 미래는 멀리 있지 않아. 우린 글로벌 기업들과 힘을 합쳐 5G의 세계적인 기준을 만들고 있고 누구보다 먼저 평창에서 5G 세상을 만나게 해줄 거야. 이것이 KT 네트워크의 힘. 미래는 기가로 이미 시작된 거야. KT.
And here we are. It's the winner match of Day 1, Group A of the ASL round of 24. Artosis and Rapid here. It's going to be Bisu going up against Sashin, a relatively new Terran player.
That's very true. The new versus the old, and very impressive hold there by Sashin against the early aggression coming in from Glenshire. I am Mong in game number 2. Puts him here in the winner's match. One of these players will advance on to the next round of ASL. One of them has one more shot.
Now, you know, you always have to favor Bisu basically against everyone.
Ever?
Like, yeah, kind of. Like, maybe not against, like, Flash or Jaedong or something, like, probably right now against Jaedong, but just in general, no matter what you think you know about StarCraft, Bisu knows more, and he's, you know, he's a god. So I would favor him to be able to take down Sashin here, but I mean, the kid definitely showed really strong understanding of Terran vs. Pro.
Yeah, and I just look at his play, it looks the same. I look at Bisu's face, it still looks the same. He's going to be the most handsome grandpa in the nursing home.
Seriously, yeah. Always been one of the most handsome players there
Sick
is.
Kane micro. He was actually nicknamed like Handsome Toss because I think the rest of his the players in like a group draw voted him the most handsome Brood War player.
Yeah.
I don't think they've taken a look at Nada's abs lately, but you know what? It's still up in the top echelon. So of course Play looking very handsome as well. And of course there you can see him on your screen facing off against Sashin, a guy that you know we're starting to get to learn. And I think that's one of the cool things about seeing Brood War come back. We all get to sort of learn here together. What are the new styles? Who are the new players? Maybe get a chance to see a lot more successes out there. But guys, get out there, tell your friends. Game number 3, Bisu versus Sashin here in the Brood War ASL Season 2.
'Cause I've had enough.
That countdown screen, I love it.
It's like hearing the modem dial-up noise. It's just so
Yes,
nostalgic.
I can still hear that in my head too. Oh my.
I was about to make the noise, but have a little bit of self-control. There we go. All right, so down here in the bottom left-hand corner, this is our Teal Terran, Sashin.
All right, well, we have a please pause here, and something might be wrong there.
Looks like we need to enable some CPU throttling. No, that is definitely not the case, but we'll be figuring that out.
Look at that. It's Blizzard Australia in the flesh.
Handsome guys from down under. Of course, welcome here to the AfreecaTV studios. If you guys out there want to come down and join these handsome nerds, and of course a lot of other ones, you can head down here. It's certainly gets you inside the studio to watch some of the best Brood War action out there. You can come down and hang out.
Yes, indeed. It's so much fun, and it's quite a good crowd here today for the first day of ASL. Of course, Bisu is playing. It has a lot to do with which stars are playing, and he has a lot of fans, no doubt about it.
That's why half the audience is just fangirls. Lots of fan signs out there.
Well, I fangirl for Bisu occasionally. This guy is just that good, and quick little story about Bisu. Like, he is... In my opinion, like, I used to get to go to all the qualifiers for OSL and you know, for pro gamer licenses and MSL and all that stuff. When I first moved out here, I was doing like a lot of journalism and stuff, videos, interviews, that type of thing. I guess not writing, but you know, interview type stuff. Anyways, I get to stand behind basically every single pro gamer, and in my opinion, the most impressive player to stand behind and watch was Bisu. Like, it's just. The speed and fluidity of the way that he moves through his multitasking is really second to none. It is a truly impressive feat, and he does stream some on Afreeca for sure, so you guys definitely should check that out. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah, and for everybody that says that Brood War is maybe hard to watch from a first-person view because the screen's jumping all over the place, that's what's so impressive to me, to see how quickly a player can move the screen and then do something on that screen and then just get right onto the next thing. And of course, Bisu, unprecedented at doing that.
That's the speed with which you can switch screens and take actions on the new screen is the highest correlation with skill in all of StarCraft. And that's something that Bisu really excels at, so that would make a lot of sense. But definitely it's such a mechanical game that it looks a lot different to watch first person than StarCraft 2. I mean, both of them have like a skill cap that's unreachable, but it's like in different ways, I guess is the right way to put it. Like the way that I like to describe the differences between them is that StarCraft 1 is a mechanics game with strategy, and StarCraft 2 is a strategy game with mechanics. And that's kind of where their focuses lie, and why it might look to some people harder to watch, but also somewhat more impressive to some people to watch StarCraft 1, even though I don't know if that's necessarily the case for everyone. I think some people might prefer to watch like the micro aspects of StarCraft 2 or something.
Right, and definitely as an observer, whether you're an audience member or a caster, watching Brood War definitely takes a little bit more work. There's less information just on the screen. You don't get a chance to see like all of their mineral supplies, all of that stuff. Todd would make a terrible Brood War caster.
Look at the supply.
You can't look at it, man.
Yeah.
So the best thing about watching more and more Brood Wars, you just get a feel for what's happening, for how things are working, who's ahead, who's behind. And one of the cool things, I thought it was like a bad observing move, but sometimes the observers just won't show a part of the map, and then all of a sudden you'll see a huge army there, and you're like, whoa, that's so sick.
There's actually, this is Sashin, guys, and then Beast in the bottom right. But to carry on your point that you were talking about, oh, that doesn't feel right. That's definitely too slow.
Okay.
Something.
So, yeah, it looks like
okay.
We need to, get the maybe FPS up on BCU's computers, trying to make sure everybody's on the same page. And that means you get to look at our handsome faces for a little bit longer.
Yeah, not quite as handsome as Bisu's, but whose is. But I was just going to talk about something that you were just talking about.
Making points about observing and watching Brood War.
Okay, so this is something I've actually brought up a lot of times within StarCraft 2, that I don't think that the production tab is good for observing the things we've become so used to it. That people just look at the production tab and there's a lot of exciting moments, but there isn't suspense in StarCraft 2 as much. There are moments where suspense is built, but StarCraft 1 is like suspense all game because you have no production tab. You don't actually know the numbers. You don't know how many workers just died. Sometimes there will be a base that the observer misses where all the SCVs die, and you don't know, right? So there are a lot of cool moments like that, and that's something that the professional observers who used to do this as a full-time job, just observing, and there's still a few around, but would be good at is things like, oh, I know what's happening because I'm a pro gamer, but I'm not going to show that he's making battle cruisers, because the moment you go over and there's 5 battle cruisers, you're like, whoa! And what a moment when the casters also know not to talk about that, and like the suspense, and then suddenly the surprise. And I don't know. I think that StarCraft 2 commentary, due to all the information that it gives you, has evolved very differently than StarCraft 1.
Right. It takes different skill sets. For StarCraft 2, you have to assimilate all of that information and tell people what it all means and maybe how it's going to affect the shape of the way the game goes. For Brood War, maybe it's just that split second that the observer screen sees, like a robo bay or like a proxy something or other. You look at the mini map, you just see a red blob. You have to kind of know what that is or what it could be, know what builds are out there, what directions people are going, because some things can look fairly similar depending on the way things start out. So lots of knowledge required. That means the more you watch Brood War, the better you get at watching it.
That is true, yeah. I think that's true probably with a lot of things in this world. Like, the more you do them, the better you get.
Oh, my
God.
And
it's definitely like, it's worth your time to check out Brood War. Brood War is not going to go away probably ever now. Now that it's having this resurgence right now, I bet you that this game is around as an esport for the rest of time. Like, there's going to be people out here playing it, and maybe it won't be the biggest game in the West, but out here at least, man, it's a hardcore audience. There's a lot more people out here that like StarCraft 1 over StarCraft 2 for observing in Korea. And so, I mean, it's definitely worth your time. This game is fun. It's challenging, as you can imagine. Like, mechanically, you make such a difference with your mechanics, like being able to macro and being able to move your army around correctly, that it's kind of weird. Like I feel like the entry curve is harder in StarCraft 1 in some ways, because it's like you're battling against like these arcane controls so much.
You're not just fighting another player. You're fighting against yourself and your own ability to just do so much. In fact, if you ever get a chance to play Brood War, that's your homework tonight, guys. Go home. If your parents tell you you're supposed to be studying science, no, it's Brood War time. Get out there.
Just play Terran and make a science facility.
Yeah, just...
Research or radiate. There you go.
Hey,
it's a good
there you
spell.
go. You're basically working with nuclear materials, and you can't do that in high school. Well, not nowadays anyway. But the point I was trying to make is that you're not just playing against another player. You're playing against yourself. If you just get into a game, maybe not even against like a hard AI, just try to build stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually just so difficult. So when you see, units moving on the screen, you really don't have an appreciation for just how difficult that can be to do.
And in fact, the game, at various points, there was actually, really during the prime of Brood War, Mutalisk Micro got so perfected, and it became so important for Zerg versus Terran, for instance, that a big chunk of every practice day, Zergs would sit alone in a use map, settings map, and practice Mutalisk Micro. For hours, every single day, every Zerg player would do this. That was a professional, because you had to have your Mutalisk Micro like perfect. And in fact, it was this really funny time that I really kind of despise is all the new Zerg pros for a long time, or almost all of them, were 2-hatch Muta players.
Because they were just so good.
Yeah, you just got so good at Mutalisk Micro that you could just kill people with it. And just like, that's it, and you're a pro, and this is your build, and this is what you do. And It was like a really funny time, and I saw someone call Ro.24 a patch Zerg because he wanted GSL during the time of Brood Lords, and I want to tell whoever said that, I forget who it was on the internet, you're an idiot. Ro.24 was one of the only guys that entered during the 2-hatch Mutalisk phase that was playing 3-hatch Zerg in StarCraft 1, so nice little tidbit for you, guy who thinks he knows things. But, yeah, I mean, there's I don't know. There's so much deep, rich history to StarCraft, man. I could just actually sit here and talk forever. I like the downtime.
I was going to say,
I hope his computer's never fixed. I hope I just get to talk all night.
This is where we all get to metaphorically sit on Grandpa Artosis's lap and just hear stories.
You can really sit on my lap if you want.
I mean, I don't think my mic cord reaches that way.
Okay.
It's okay. Big thanks to our producer, Jay, for making this my excuse. So anyway, yeah, we're just testing out the map to make sure that we get all the settings right so that Bisu has everything exactly like he wants, because what Bisu wants, Bisu gets.
Yeah, there's definitely some issue going on. They keep on remaking the game and testing it out, and there's definitely some latency issues with that. But I don't know, I guess we'll figure that out eventually here. Maybe I have to switch someone's PC out, but it's Brood War, so it's like not really that complicated, I guess.
I was going to say, we actually replaced the PC with a toaster, and it still works just as well.
I know, right? Oh, my God. They use a wind-up watch. I'm like, okay.
It's like, yeah, we forgot to crank this PC too much, but it still runs Brood War perfectly.
Something like that.
I was watching like one of the Pro League finals from like several years ago, and one of the comments said, why can't I watch this above like 360p? I was like, well, the technology just literally wasn't there back in the day. All of the broadcast stations just broadcast it for regular TVs and a 4:3 aspect ratio, and it just wasn't a problem.
Yeah,
I can remember when it first changed from Brood War over to broadcasting StarCraft 2. Like that was a big deal because all of a sudden you have to get new computers, new cameras, new everything, and so we're kind of having the best of both worlds now. We've got great production, and we still get to look at one of the games from the past who's still actually looks pretty good. If you guys are big into those like pixel art games, this is pretty much the pinnacle.
Yeah.
It's still out there. It's been around for so long, it's starting to come back in popularity. So it's only going to keep getting more popular.
Hey, man, I like the graphics. They're kind of wonky at times, and definitely until you understand perfectly what the graphics mean in different arrangements.
Oh, and maybe talk a little bit about that, because there are some like graphical indicators in Brood War. They're actually like you have to
There's some funny things
know
about
how
the
to
game.
spot things.
Yeah, like buildings wall very funnily. Like in StarCraft 2, they fix this a lot. If your edges are touching in a certain way, it makes a tight wall. StarCraft 1... So like, for instance, 2 depots next to each other, a Marine or a Zerglin can get through.
Yep.
A depot and academy next to each other. Academy is exactly the same size, but has different graphics. Those 2 next to each other, only a Ghost can go through. Not a Zerglin, but a Ghost can. Not as if you'd ever use that. I used that one time in one game, but that's a true thing, right?
You got to counter those BCs with lockdown, man.
Yeah. Like, as soon as a new map would come out, Protoss would just have to sit there and figure out how to wall against Zerg, and Terran would have to sit there and figure out how to wall against Protoss. And that was just, like, if you didn't know those walls, you just lose.
Yeah.
You have a hole in your wall, oh, the game's over, okay. And it would be weird because, like, the edges of the map, you'd have to figure out, okay, what buildings are going to go here against that are actually going to fit. And literally every time a new map would come out, you'd have to do this because the buildings were just so wonky how they would fit together, which also makes fun little tricks. Like we saw those 2 depots where the Zealots couldn't go through, but the Marines could.
Right, Barracks and Depot,
yeah,
I guess it was.
Barracks and Depot together, and there was another depot below, but they weren't using that one. But, yeah, that's like, you have to know all these little tricks because there will be times where you absolutely have to use them.
Yeah, and it's not just sitting alone, by yourself trying to practice all the building placements. That sounds a little bit more depressing, but it's not as depressing as having a hole in your wall and losing because of it.
That's... It still happens to me sometimes in StarCraft 2, and I'm just like...
You just like misplace your force field a little bit. And you're like, oh, well,
why do we have these old maps back? I don't remember the walls, and I'm going to lose this many ladder games. But yeah, there's so many cool and different and weird things about the positioning in Brood War because of these old graphics as well. Like reverse ramps, people had to like kind of hack into the map editor because you only had ramps that could go
one direction
this way. So to have maps that come down this way, because maps were imbalanced positionally speaking, if you're like on this side and your ramp has to go like that down out of your main, but they want it out of the top, that would make the map like imbalanced for certain starting spots. So they had to like reverse it, and then the vision works weird on it, and it's like there's a lot of weird things with vision on this map or on in StarCraft 1 because of that.
Yeah, the map we're actually going to get a chance to watch right now. So our first games are played on the map Benzene. Our second 2 games are played on Eye of the Storm. It's another.
I thought it's Circuit Breaker is the next one. Eye of the Storm's last.
Oh, it's Circuit Breaker second, and then our last game, if it does, when it goes down to it, is Circuit Breaker.
Oh, okay.
Or no, it's Eye of the Storm is our last map.
Okay.
So this is going to be Circuit Breaker coming up. I had them out of order in my notes, so I got a little confused. But yeah, this is a map that you guys will remember from last season. We're about to get into it. Finally, let's go ahead and get started with game number 3, Bisu versus Zacian.
Okay. Okay, this looks like normal speed.
Okay, all right, we got normal speed. We got different colors, so this time it's the blue Terran in the upper left-hand side of the map. This is Zacian.
Whew. There he is. Cool. I love that ASL jacket. I am going to steal one of those at the end of the season.
They are.
Don't tell Mr. Che. Shh. Bottom left. Legendary Protoss.
Yeah. That is Bisu. Something kind of cool as far as Korean names go. Bisu's name is Kim Tae-kyung, whereas Zacian's name is Kim Tae-yong, which might sound like I just said the same thing twice, but they are very similar in name, very different in play style, in race, and we'll get a chance to see how that works out here as we see a pylon placed in the middle of the map, Artosis.
That's kind of funny. Maybe he saw how well the previous Protoss did with this, and he's like, well, I won't screw up against the Vulture, so I guess I can just win.
I can do better.
Yeah, one of those situations.
Like, oh, well, that was cute. Let me show you how it's really done. We'll get a chance to see him place that gateway out there. Somehow, this is like the question mark profit. Somehow you end up with a dragon at the end of that list of steps. Maybe that's, I guess, Bisu.
Well, he is one of the 6 dragons. And if you guys don't know what that is, here's a little history lesson for you. There was 6 Protosses that were much better than everyone else in the prime of StarCraft. He was kind of the leader of that, the best of the best. And yeah, they were called the 6 dragons. So there you go. Go look it up on Liquipedia. They have like a really good lot of history on that page, of course, on TeamLiquid.net.
Hey, there we go.
There we go.
All right, it's not a complete ASL cast without appropriate plugs in there. So big thanks to KT Giga, our sponsor out there.
There you go.
I'm just selling out all over the place.
And Rapid Casting on Twitter. Follow him.
Hey, man, there we go. At Artosis, at the Dead Spirit of Call Me Tasteless. He's out there, too.
The Dead Spirit of him.
He's turning over in his grave right now, watching Probes dominate. So, okay, this is going to be a pylon in the mineral line. Might not look like it does a whole lot, but it really does affect mining.
Yeah, offensive pylon here. It looks like he's blocked off the 2 patches, so units or SCVs have to go around. Plus, he's got an SCV stuck behind it, is what it looks like we're looking at here. And that's, like, there is hardly anything more annoying than this. And this is also going to screw up AI when the Zealot comes, because your Marine's going to try to attack the pylon as well. So you're going to have to use more move commands than attack move commands and stuff like that. It's just... And, you know, you might have just fired the pylon as the Zealot comes into range. So there's so many reasons why this was a great move by Bisu.
You can actually see an SCV being called out to repair the other SCV that's building, just because you want to have as much health as possible when these Zealots come in. Now, there's a probe along with that Zealot that does help them kill off these workers pretty exactly.
Yeah, this is very well done so far, utilizing the Zealot and probe. But he's setting up that same type of depot setup with the barracks. Oh, God, SCV kind of blocking there for a moment. The SCVs, you don't get to control how they dance in StarCraft 1. So that can be a little bit of pain. But this is much better micro than what we saw out of him last time, I feel like. He's doing a great job at targeting down this one Zealot.
And you can really tell that Zacian is on top of not only his building placement, like we talked a little bit about earlier, but also how to move his Marines around, keep enough of them alive. Now, still starting to see a few SCVs drop here.
Yeah, he definitely is losing a few, but he's going to be able to get the factory up. And when he gets the factory up, like if he makes a single Vulture, one Vulture can kill like a million Zealots. Like there's just like a certain micro that you master as a Terran player, and Zealots no longer do anything to you when they're slow.
And it's really interesting how tech works in Brood War just because of that, because every single unit can be microed to be more impactful, more powerful. Vultures specifically, maybe more so than almost any other.
Yeah, there's a few units where it's like really so micro-based, like a Reaver, a Vulture, a Mutalisk, stuff like that, which become active units that you're always using and microing your heart out on. But yeah, StarCraft 1 is very different in this way that like extra micro is going to give you a lot extra, and there aren't nothing counters anything as hard as in StarCraft 2, really.
Yeah, like you can just see right here, there's not a whole lot that you can do as a Vulture against Dragoons, but Vultures are more mobile, so you can do more with them in other aspects. So, okay, almost a little bit of a high five there, but still able to micro the Vulture against the Zealot, but now the Dragoon there to defend.
All right, pushing that Vulture back, definitely doesn't want to lose it. Has plenty of Marines up his ramp and still making some more. Looks like this could be an FD Terran type of play, making a siege tank, maybe getting spider mines or something like that to go with his Marines, and he can easily push out and take his natural at that point. Bisu putting up some pressure on, but with that many Marines, Sashin should be fine.
Right, this is kind of like what you'd expect from StarCraft 2, the Stalkers poking up there against Marines, but as soon as this tank comes out, you can see Bisu recognizes the power and retreats effectively.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like he quite played this the same way as Ironmonger Gyumchi really did. We haven't actually looked at his base in a while. Does he have a second gateway there? He's definitely getting Dragoon range, I think, but didn't really get to see what else he's doing.
Yeah, I believe he does have a second gateway back in his main, but he also has this forward gateway out in the middle of the map, which he is retreating back to, trying to hold this push coming out from Sasson, picking off a lot of Marines.
Yeah, now he's trying to push out and see what's going on. He sees how many Dragoons there are, so that will easily tell him that there are 2 gates, and then he can just fall back. The Marines don't scale into the late game. Marines are trash against Protoss after about this point in the game, so to lose them is not the biggest deal.
Now, Marines, yeah, not as good. They are smarter because they do go to an academy in Brood War, but that does not make them any better at killing other stuff. So
the Tech Lab just does all the work for them. Academy teaches them how to stim.
Hey, yeah. It's like you put the needle, and that's how it works out. So Vulture did get in and get a little bit of a scout into the main base, but really doesn't reveal a whole lot else. Natural's coming up for both players.
Yeah, this looks like, it feels like both sides are kind of playing better than the last series that we saw, right? Like, Bisu is not overcommitting with the defense, but he's making sure that nothing's happening here. Sashin, he microed better in the beginning, didn't have to go with 2 factory thus. And, you know, he's fine at this point. He's kind of defended up and getting his natural at a more timely moment, so we should be going into a macro game from here.
Right, and so that's what you're seeing with the naturals coming up. Bisu's super oversaturated in his main, so he'll be Madarning those probes all the way over there. Both a great technique and a great caster and a great player it's named after.
Yeah, he certainly was one of the greats of early Brood War. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, Maynard is not just a fantastic Australian caster that I know is watching this because he has so much passion, but there was a pro gamer known as Maynard who figured out a thing about economy to overproduce workers in a base and then transfer them, which we call Maynarding in StarCraft 1, to a new base as it comes up online. And that is, like, I mean, that is one of the most important fundamentals of macro in StarCraft 1.
Yep, great way to get your new bases up and running, and that's exactly what we have done right here. Already even a third being produced here by Sasson. So I guess one of the cool things about Circuit Breaker is that it's one of the most balanced maps, at least historically, has almost completely even ratios across the board. So we shouldn't see anything like you were mentioning about maybe the different ramps giving racial imbalances. Things are actually pretty standard here, but I guess the opening wasn't standard in this specific matchup, but at least now that we're getting into the next phase of the game, where do you think these guys are going?
Okay, well, right now it's like Bisu is just making some extra units while he's taking his 3rd base, and I don't know if he wants to tech up immediately to Arbiter. That's pretty popular right now against Terran. But Sashin is just kind of defending everything. He will be taking a 3rd base as well. You can technically do 2 base mech pushes against Protoss in StarCraft 1, but they're kind of weird and all in, and like he's not planning on doing that here. That's not what we're seeing here. He'd already be up going towards 6 factories if that was his plan. So definitely we'll have to put down a 3rd command center.
So what we're going to start to see right now is Vultures get out on the map and try to scout things out. You can see revealing that there is no 4th base down at that 6 o'clock location for Sasson, or for Bisu rather. Sasson now just trying to get that the big Terran machine up, running, ready to go. Armory's coming online as well. Probably won't see Goliaths just yet, but it's going to be getting those mech upgrades ready to go and push in onto the mid game.
Yeah, definitely those upgrades super important for him to get going. The Citadel of Adun coming up, that's going to allow him to get the Zealot legs for that Zealot speed. Very important to go with the Dragoons. Dragoons get just slaughtered by siege tanks, so you need the Zealots in there to soak that up.
Yeah, Zealot's kind of the linebacker of the Protoss army. Just running in there, getting dropped in by shuttles. You need them in front of your army.
Indeed the case, but they're just going to both kind of go a little bit more towards macro here, especially Sasha. He's going to have to add a lot of factories. His economy is really getting rolling very, very well here. And Bisu taking a 4th base. He will continue to expand in that direction. And in fact, if Sasha does a super powerful push directly south after he adds these factories, there's a possibility we'll see Bisu play this kind of old style of Protoss that we call refugee toss, where you just expand away from the attack of the Terran because the Terran attack is so slow, and you just keep making new bases, and eventually whittle Terran down over time.
Right, because as Terran does siege up, it can just be so difficult to deal with that siege that it's easier to just move your base to another location that's more easily defensible. Because Terran mech is so slow a lot of times in Brood War, so got to keep an eye on that. It does look like as both players are macroing, you know, it's really exciting to watch these big fights where everything dies, but it can actually be also exciting here during the macro phase, because if you have any experience playing Brood War, you know how difficult it is to just make a ton of stuff. That's what we're seeing both players exhibit right here.
Yeah, this is going to get really speed intensive for both of them. Like, a lot of gateways coming up for Bisu, a lot of factories for Sasha, and they have to keep those rounds up. They have to be making their pylons and making their depots and making the units. So, I mean, they're about to be super taxed, even though right now is probably, you know, the moment where it's a little bit more restful, even though both of them have to be on the lookout for things like shuttles, dropships, Vulture run-bys, stuff like that.
All right, now we're going to see Arbiter Tech at least coming up there for Bisu as he gets ready for the next phase of the game, which should probably look like big tank lines starting to be set up out in the center of this map as the mech push goes closer and closer towards the bottom half of the base for Bisu's act.
All right, well, the Siege Tanks, picking up a few free Dragoon kills there. A little bit sloppier by Bisu, but he's also having to deal with these Vultures that are running by. And 2 Vultures, that's all you need to kill a hell of a lot of probes. Land a couple mines to slow down anything coming in. Probes coming out to battle against him, trying to buy some time for those cannons to warp in and protect them. He doesn't get as many as he could have. Yeah,
just a few coming out there. Now, you're going to see a lot of these little pylon walls out on the map because it really, really screws up the pathing of Vultures, and so many Vultures now streaming out of Sassen's base to give him that mid-map control.
Well, most of the Dragoons are actually over to the other side, so if these get out here and lay some mines, like, this could be a very strong move from him. You got to really be careful about where your observers are as Protoss to prevent this from hurting you, but little bit sloppy from Sashin coming up here, trying to get some offensive mines down.
It does look like he does have plenty down, but none of them are activating on these Dragoons. Finally, a few do start to hit, but all the Dragoons survive.
That was really well done by Bisu. He microed that just right, didn't over-micro it, kept everything in the right positions, didn't clump too much or panic. And that was a failure by Sasha. And that was a lot of Vultures to go down for almost no value.
Yeah, he killed like 1 probe off of that, and that's like 8 or 9 Vultures. So really kind of difficult. Not a lot of harassment being effective versus Bisu. And it really, this is just allowing the Terran machine to keep on trucking double armories. I don't think they were upgrading when we looked at them, but they will be chugging those out.
Yeah, he's going to want to get 2-1 ASAP. He's also getting EMP right now for his science vessels to help deal with Arbiters. But here Bisu comes after killing that many Vultures. He's decided to run in here. This is a moment where he has a lot of Zealots, and you really do need to have Vultures to deal with those.
And with EMP maybe just now completing, that's going to make the Arbiter very, very strong. The Arbiter cloaking these Zealots and allowing them to really run all over Sassen's units.
This is actually quite a nice timing attack here from Bisu, realizing that he has this advantage after killing off that many Vultures. And look at how many siege tanks he picked off. This is so big.
He's actually fighting on multiple fronts all at the same time. That multitasking of the Revolution is pounding in here onto Sashin's base. Now, a hold up towards the top, but more and more Protoss streaming into the upper left half of the map.
Man, he has done a ton of damage here, even in that main base, picking off units as they come out, using Defense Matrix to try to keep these siege tanks alive, but Zealots surrounding him. This is basically game.
This is actually just so dominating. Dragoons coming up the ramp, and GG! Bisu will advance to the next round, 2-0 with his victory here over Sasha.
Wow, very well done by Bisu, and it's funny, this shows you what a high level of a player he is. He most likely would not have done that attack if he hadn't gotten all those Vultures. Like, if those Vultures had been sitting over the bridge, he can never make that work like we just saw. Like, he might go in and try to get something done because he has arbiters, he has a huge amount of supply, but he would not have ended the game right there for sure. So seeing that weakness and realizing, okay, you're a little bit too spread out, you're trying to go for a 4-base Terran right now, and you don't really have enough units with those vultures being dead and just pulling the trigger, killing them off. Bisu's showing he's in the type of shape that could win this tournament.
Absolutely, yeah, looking good there. He's wearing his B suit in here to the studio, and he is taking names, already advancing out. So you can see kind of the look there on Sashin's face. No real glaring flaws, except for losing those vultures. He defended the early aggression from that mid-map gateway. It looked pretty good transitioning into the macro game, but just a little bit out of position there. And Bisu just so almost psychic, knowing exactly when to press that kill button.
Yeah, very, very well done and well deserved to go on in first place, which means that Sashin will await the winner of Larva and Gyumchi or Ayamong to come up and challenge him for that second spot. Let's go ahead and have an interview here with Bisu, who advances in first place.
소감이 어떠세요?
Bisu, you advanced around a 16 with 2 straight wins. How do you feel?
좀 처음에 위기가 있어가지고 좀 힘들까 했는데
expect myself to win.
전투를 낭비해가지고 좀 이게 뚫려가지고
But the winner's match was pretty hard.
다행이었던 경기 같아요.
좀 당황을 하셨다는 그런 말씀이신가요?
네, 너무 잘하셔가지고.
I was able to break into his defensive line.
궁금한 게
And Sashin was actually a better player than I expected.
선수랑 할 때 전지 게이트를 사용하셨어요. 그게 그 김승현 선수의 전략을 보고 즉흥적으로 좀 심리전을 이용하신 건지 궁금하네요.
그냥 좀 원래 대회장에 오기 전에 뭘 할까 생각했는데 이 빌드 할까 저 빌드 할까 생각했는데 이 빌드가 좀 좋을 것 같아서 했거든요. 근데 너무 잘 막으셔가지고 좀
went for the Thor gateway.
잘 막아서 당황을 하셨다.
Is that because Ayamong used that same proxy gateway against him?
네, 저도 재밌게 봤죠. 그건
I used
당연한
that strategy versus during practice, and I wanted to use it today.
일단 뭐 인터뷰를
My opponent was able to defend it better than I expected.
조현진 씨가 이렇게 나눠서 하다 보니까 보기에도 여러분들이 보기에도 좋아 보이고 저도 편하고 참 좋은데 김태경 선수는 이 개막날 이렇게 멋지게 진출을 했지 않습니까? 근데 이몽규 선수와의 그 대결은 솔직히 지금까지는 계속 이겨왔지만 오늘은 약간 부담되지 않았습니까? 요새 이몽규 선수가 또 워낙 잘해서.
Talking about the match against Larva, did you feel any pressure because Larva's been doing well recently?
네, 요새 좀 게임이 많이 져가지고 좀 힘들까 했는데 좀 홍규가 긴장을 많이 한 것 같더라고요.
I lost a lot of games recently,
잘 됐던 것
so I
같아요.
was a little bit worried playing against Larva. Because it was my first game of the season. But I think Larva was more nervous than me, and he didn't really play his best match.
사이좋게 스포클론이의 그 오버로드를 지키기 위해서 이렇게 다 배치가 잘 되어 있었는데 그것을 뚫었습니다. 어떻게 뚫은 건가요?
근데 그 전에 질럿으로
Corsairs.
드론을 많이 잡아가지고 거기서 좀 게임이 끝났다고 생각했어요 저는.
아 질럿 그 무빙샷.
네, 한 2마리인가 3마리 잡아가지고 거기서 이제 투스타를 보더라도 그 피해를 줄 수 있겠다 그런 생각을 했죠.
근데 저는 제가 질럿을 쓸 때 드론 한 2개 잡아도 게임을 이겼다는 생각이 안 들던데 이게 좀
Results were able to kill a lot of units in the early game.
2개를 잡았을 때 그 얼마나 달라질까?
So even though he spotted my 2 Stargates.
제가 뭐 테크트리나 해처리 일어나는 거나 좀 느려지죠.
예, 그 몇 초 이게 참 크다라는 말씀이시죠?
네.
예, 프로토스의 신 김태경 선수가 그렇다면 그런 줄 알아야죠.
역시 택신이네요. 우리 또 김태경 선수가 제일 먼저 진출하다 보니까 시간이 좀 남았잖아요.
My micro is actually decreasing a little bit.
예정이신가요?
이제 좀
But I think I can still go far into this tournament.
잘하는 사람들이 많이 올라왔더라고요. 그래서 어느 한 주에 이제 걸리더라도 좀
Looking at this tournament, there's a lot of strong players in every group.
열심히 준비해가지고 올라가야죠.
네,
So whoever I get to play in the next round, it's going to be a really hard match. So I'm going to have to continue to prepare very hard.
감사합니다. 네, 김태경 선수였습니다. 네, 멋진 모습 기대할게요.
Thank you very much there to Bisu. That is going to do it for our interview. Bisu advances out of his group in first place, maybe a little bit, assumed, but still very impressive to watch the legend back in action.
Absolutely. I'm so happy he's in the round 16, as it should be. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, guys. When we come back, it's the loser match, Larva against Gyumchi.
Each minute that passes feels like a lifetime.
이건 영화 속 이야기도 누군가의 막연한 상상도 아니야. 누구도 기가를 본 적은 없지만 이미 기가 속에서 살아가고 있어. 이곳의 사람들은 감염병을 두려워하지 않아. 빅데이터로 병이 퍼지는 걸 막아주니까. 재난에 절망하는 사람도 없어. 어떤 상황에도 안전통신망이 세상과 연결해주니까. 에너지를 걱정하는 일도 없지. 복합 에너지 운영 시스템이 알아서 관리해주거든. 이것이 KT 네트워크의 힘. 미래는 기가로 이미 시작된 거야. KT.
큰 김치 사발면, 큰 튀김 우동 사발면 편의점에서 구입할 수 있어요.
와, 근데 이거 봐요.
오, 그냥 진짜 생김치네. 오, 김치 건더기가 엄청나게 부지매요. 김치찌개 느낌? 쿠키 같아, 쿠키. 뜨거운 거에 넣었는데 바삭바삭한 게 남아있어. 솔직한 맛평가. 김치 건더기가 진짜 많아요. 요거는 진하고 우려낸 듯한 느낌? 튀김 우동이 되게 매력적이다.
제주항공 시뮬레이터 체험관에 있거든요. 오늘 함께 승무원분들이랑 같이 먹어보면서 소개해드릴 거고요. 와, 이게 더 신기하네요. 오!
한번 드셔보시겠어요?
네.
미디움 정도.
한 입 씹으면요, 입안에 육즙 같은 게 확 퍼지거든요.
그 리액션 한 번만 해주시면 안 돼요?
아유, 감사합니다. 아이고.
기호에 따라서 선택을 하셔서 맛있게 드실 수 있으실 것 같아요. 덕분에 잘 먹었습니다.
이렇게 보니 나 심쿵 내 꽃잎 내 불에다 뽀뽀를 해주세요. 아니 내가 확만 준다. 뽕뽕뽕 누리야 뽕.
마블 히어로즈. 제가 사실 이제서야 밝히는 겁니다. 마블 소속입니다. 이제 이 로파이더맨과 함께 마블 좋아하면 키우는 거 재밌을 것 같아서 재밌지. 와! 여기 유저들이랑 다 같이 막 이동을 하면서 깨지는 거라. 마블 히어로즈 2016 마스터. 자기만의 캐릭터를 육성하면서 활용해주는 게 굉장히 중요하네요. 파워. 그린 고블린 고스트라이더 나이트크롤러 취향 저격하셔가지고 플레이 하시면 됩니다. 개인적으로 난 아이언맨도 한번 플레이해보고 싶어요.
여러분 피포 찍으시죠? 여러분 이거 보신 분 있는 분 토니모리 정말 살짝 이거 봐 여자는 이래서 메이크업을 해야 한다니까? 유제님께서 포토샵을 현실로 안 해라고 하셨는데 오마이갓 사랑한다. 지워지지 않아야 되는 게 포인트야. 이렇게 푸시하는 걸 눌러주면 돼요. 이렇게 하라고. 어때요 여러분? 야, 너무 예쁜 거 아니야 이거 지금? 앞으로도 많이 사랑해주세요.
오션엔 엠파이어 깔고 들어오세요. 개꿀잼입니다. 바로 시작합니다. 와, 쩐다 올라오고 있죠. 그 멋있죠. 보는 것도 개재밌다. 근데 하면 더 재밌어요. 자, 이제 그럼 나가가지고 공격을 한번 해보겠습니다. 함선 건조. 여기서 함선을 만들 수가 있어요. 실시간으로 이런 식으로 함선이 만들어져가지고 나가는 게 보인다라는 거죠. 자기 만든 함선을 또 꾸밀 수도 있어요. 돛도 제가 이거 꾸민 거고. 개물개. 좀 위협적이게 생겼네요. 등껍질에 밥 비벼 먹고 싶네. 와, 레벨업 7입니다, 여기들. 쫙쫙 올라가요.
세상이 미래를 상상할 때 우린 미래를 만들고 있어. 우린 자동차와 도로를 연결해 차들이 스스로 움직이는 길을 만들지. 빅데이터로 금융의 패러다임을 바꿔 은행을 찾아다닐 필요도 없어. 미래는 멀리 있지 않아. 우린 글로벌 기업들과 힘을 합쳐 5G의 세계적인 기준을 만들고 있고 누구보다 먼저 평창에서 5G 세상을 만나게 해줄 거야. 이것이 KT 네트워크의 힘. 미래는 기가로 이미 시작된 거야. KT.
Welcome back. It's ASL Day 1. We're in the round of 24, and Bisu has already advanced in first place, much as expected. If you expected otherwise, you think you know more than you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just watched Bisu play. I look at his face. It's just that he's got everything going on. If I were a city, I'd be Los Angeles of him.
Wow.
Because he is actually just so good. We're going to get to see him in the next round, but now we have to find out who will join him. So this is going to be the lower match.
I got to Tallahassee you how you came up with that. Did I do it right?
One step at a time, Artosis.
Oh. Okay.
Well,
you know that this is a good match coming up.
That's the reaction everybody in chat's having right now. Head to Sands Larva might have his work kind of cut out for him coming up against Gwemchi or I Am Mong. Looked pretty solid. Larva is still having some struggles, but this is once again going to be a PVZ. We got to see this once already.
Yeah. And, you know, Larva is very good at this matchup. Gwemchi, though, is a strong Protoss player. This guy was pretty damn well known back in the, what do we even call it? I don't want to keep calling it the old days, but, like, and I don't want to always call it prime. I need to, like, get more words in my vocabulary to call, like, what StarCraft was before StarCraft 2 came
Well, this
out.
is where this gets to be an interactive stream. We just, like, ask everybody out there to tweet words at Artosis that we can use. Great to have so many people out there watching.
In the third epoch of StarCraft, he was really good.
In these days. All right, we're about to get into game number 4. It's our losers match coming up next here in Season 2, the ASL.
Of course, Larva is on the Chicago Bulls.
Yep, that is why he is a hashtag big fan of them. And he is, of course, spawning as the, I guess that's a gray Zerg up in the upper left-hand corner of our map, down in the bottom right. That's purple.
Yeah, I Am Mong or Gwemchi. Popular streamer. There's a really funny article about the way that he streams. He's like a troll, basically. That's really good at StarCraft. So that's kind of neat. I appreciate his interesting personality. It's basically that article on TeamLiquid.net.
It's basically what everybody said about Artosis when he played.
What is that, a troll?
It's good at StarCraft. Well, maybe just the first part.
Yeah.
Either way.
Probably more likely.
But we're going to get a chance to see first scouts here. They are cross positioned, so it shouldn't be anything too crazy. Right as we see our first pylon going down on, this time it's on the Protoss side of the map, so we don't have to worry about any aggressive shenanigans.
Yeah, you know, likely not. We could see something like some Zealot pressure or something out of I Am Mong that is something that's not completely uncommon as an opener, or we could just see the standard Forge, which is a very safe way to take your expansion. The way this is placed, it kind of makes me think it might, be a gateway and some Zealot pressure, though. A lot of times when you do a Forge expand, unless it's a very small choke, you're going to want to make it closer to your Nexus, so you need less buildings to kind of block everything. Because of the pathing and speed of units, cannons mouse stuff down. Like, they just, it will eat Zerglings that come after, you know, try to run by or something like that. It's not like StarCraft 2 where you're just like, oh, it's a cannon, okay, and you run 40 speedlings by. That's not how it works.
These are not, things are a little bit different here. So kind of interesting to talk about maybe the early situation here, because Macro Hatch is super popular, and if we do want to see, you know, anything like the other Mutalisks builds, we'll be seeing a few of those pop up. They don't always have to be built at bases, so got to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, don't know exactly what he's going to be going for this game. The drone is going to pass by this program.
Or will he? That's when you're trying to, you know, cross the street and there's another person coming the other way and you're like, I'm going this way, you're going that way, and you just like kind of dance in front of everybody.
I've definitely done that quite a few times in my life. The way that how do you get out of that situation when you keep on turning the same way to try to get
I just break it down right there, and they're either just like too creeped out and they walk the opposite direction, or I basically just get right through. That's one of the things I'm so impressed since I moved here to Seoul. It's just like everybody just magically passes through each other.
It's kind of like a little ballet that you see people walking around on the street like that. Zealot being rallied across as he is expanding, just putting a little bit of pressure here onto Larva. Of course, his spawning pool just finished, so he should be fine, but you know, even costing some lost mining time, killing a few Zerglings here and there. Can be very, very nice. Definitely, you know, we talk a lot about forcing units out of Zerg in StarCraft 2 and in StarCraft 1. It's really important, and you have a very limited amount of larva in StarCraft 1. So any units you can force out, that's a win.
All right, now we're going to see a base be put way across the map. So, I mean, I guess it's safe to call that kind of a hidden base because you definitely would not expect to expand that far away.
Yeah, it is pretty far. Now, let's remember, against Bisu, he did try to go for 3-base Mutalisk play with a pretty far away expansion as well. Looks like this one's actually in the natural expansion, which means he can always take his 4th base behind it if he makes something like some spines there. Or not spines, sunken colonies to defend. But we'll have to keep an eye on what he wants to do. Don't forget that Aimong, of course, watched the game that Larva played, so it might be in the back of his mind that something like this could happen.
Yeah, and this does seem to be kind of a similar version of that strategy. One base very far away to get up to what might actually be that Muta tech that he was working on but never really saw come to fruition in his game against Bisu.
Well, this Probe Scout's doing a great job. It sees a layer morphing already, and you do not need a layer for a Hydralisk Den here. And that's like kind of your tech paths, is either you go Hydras or you go Mutas. Though that's it. The Roach doesn't exist in this game, so you're going to go for one of those, and then Zerglings are always going to be made. So this could kind of give it away a little bit here for Ayamong, that this could in fact be a Spire.
Yeah, so when we get a chance to pan back over to Ayamong's base, we'll see exactly what his tech path is. He is just finishing up that layer right now, and we'll see what he decides to go for after that. On the other side of the map here for Ayamong, he's got his first 2 bases up. He's not really under too much pressure right now. So do you think he's going to be looking to put on pressure right now or expand to that 3rd?
Well, he definitely wants to force as many units out as possible. And with the Corsair popping out, that's going to be where he can kind of figure it out. If everything gets sealed up really tight, you have to take that 3rd base. But you want to put pressure on. You don't want to let Zerg just have 3 bases and drone as much as they want. Because in this game, unlike in StarCraft 2, you don't make many drones. Like, units cost not that much, and like, for instance, the Zergling is way more powerful in StarCraft 1 than in StarCraft 2, so you don't have to have as many to have a big effect with them. So, definitely the pressure going to have to occur.
All right, so we do see the Spire popping out. That does mean Mutalisks are on their way. Of course, Corsairs at the same time. It's going to be a consistent battle to see who can build enough of those to get the upper hand, keep it, and then establish the map control off of that.
Now, these Zealots moving up towards that 3rd base and a 2nd Stargate on the way, I'm already kind of liking this right now for Ayamong, to tell you the truth, man. It's kind of looking like the way that Bisu was playing it out, which did fantastically. If you go 2 Stargate Corsair, a Spire tech isn't going to do much unless the Corsairs really catch you off guard.
And here comes 5 Zealots. Now, Zealots are so powerful early on, especially if you can get in and among that mineral lines. Drone drills are a good way to stop them, and you can see that being attempted here. So Zealots do back themselves into a corner. Can they hang on? Zergling's not lasting very long.
No, they are being absolutely decimated here. Another thing to point out, Zealot's stronger in StarCraft 1 than StarCraft 2 as well. Only the Marine got buffed. The other 2 got nerfed for basic units. But he just killed so many Zerglings, and now he's sitting here behind the minerals, which is like so hard to clean up with Zerglings. This is like, it's looking really good for him right now, man.
Yeah, there's basically no way to kill those. Now, if Mutalisks do pop out, and that's, of course, one way to limit the Zealot numbers, but with a hit there to the economy, is he really going to be able to build enough Mutas to get ahead of the Corsair count?
I think that you just skip it. Like, I mean, if you have 2 Stargate Corsair going on, you have to catch some with Scourge if you actually want to make flying units, and I don't think that that's going to happen here. Ayamong is 2 on top of everything, and the amount of damage he's already done just forcing this many Zerglings, even if he didn't kill that many drones, it's crazy. They're like, I don't see anything very redeeming about Larva's position.
And this is actually kind of a style we've seen him do consistently, but maybe not a whole lot of other Zergs go for this one base that's super far away and hard to defend. Certainly seems to be more of a liability than a strategy that's going to benefit him.
Well, it's definitely being a liability right now. Ooh, that was a nice catch. You definitely want to trade 2 Scourge for a Corsair whenever you can. But coming up here, going to be able to easily clear out some more Overlords. And, you know, Larva's doing his best right now. He's got a sunken up over there, and he's up to 5 hatches at this point. So definitely he's getting a lot of production done.
I mean, at the same time, though, more and more Scourge coming out. If these get cleared up, oh my God, we'll see how well they split.
He only
one
got
Corsair.
Yeah, if he had gotten 2 there, definitely a lot better, obviously. Oh, well, I think he only connected with 1.
Yep. So great defensive here. You always have to keep an eye on your Corsair, finding out exactly where those Scourge are. Now there's just Scourge hatching, and they don't even kill a single Corsair.
Oh, and he just keeps making Scourge, but he has gotten a few of the Corsairs, I guess, which can be kind of nice. But he's like, the Scourge aren't free. They're 25 minerals and 75 gas for the pair of them, if I recall correctly. And that's, you know, he's made a hell of a lot of them. And he's lost a lot of Overlords as well. So the Corsairs still definitely doing their job.
Now, Protoss still on 2 bases, so hasn't been able to expand just quite yet. You can stay on those bases for a while, but right now it's all about defending this upper expansion for Larva. If he can hold here, get these Sunkens up, get the Spores up where he needs them, then that's going to be a nice foothold.
You know, based on what his Corsairs are seeing, I think without a doubt he needs to take a 3rd base here. I'm getting a little bit nervous for him because right now, like, this is pretty well turtled. Maybe when his charge finishes, he feels like he can get in there and kill that. But with 5 hatcheries out and the Hydralisk Den already finished, I don't know that he's going to be able to actually kill him with 2 bases.
Well, and you actually mentioned this earlier, because the 3rd expansion for Larva is in the natural of the, what is that, 1 or 2 o'clock base. He can just expand back up to the main, which is exactly what he's doing. Lots of Zealots coming in here, trying to break this infrastructure. Will there be enough here to hold this entrenched position?
Getting there right before these Sunkens all finish. If those Sunkens were done, this would already be held, but Zealots starting to get in a little bit. The second Sunken finishes up. A 3rd one is going to here, but quite a few Zealots actually get through.
And those Zealots will be able to get nice surrounds on these Sunkens. Can they take them out in time? Both bleeding and about to die here. Corsair preventing anything from getting in there to try to help. The Sunkens fall, and the Zealots are still alive.
Wow, that just in the nick of time he got in there. If those Sunkens had already been finished, it would have been absolutely brutal. But now with the Zealots cleaning up all these Zerglings, killing everything off there, and a DT on the way, like, this looks like an Mong game.
Yeah, Scourge just aren't hitting, and GG! Mong able to take out Larva, and you said Larva had a lot to prove there. He's going to go out, and Mong advances on to prove whether or not he deserves to make it to the next round.
Larva, I feel a little bit bad for him. Again, if those Sunkens had finished, and see, he's kind of devastated right now. He's been practicing really hard. He's got a very high ladder rank right now. He's been doing well against top pro gamers on the Fish server. But today, he did not quite play up to his level. The early Zealot push out did a little bit too much against him. And then those 2 extra Sunkens, if those are already morphed when those Zealots get there, I feel that he holds that position. He does not die right there. And maybe he's in a good spot from there with a 5 hatch Hydra against a 2-base toss. But Gyumchi, with a very sharp timing, he kills him off. And, you know, that's what StarCraft's all about, man. He forced those extra units, he made those sunks a little bit slower, and he kills them off because of it.
Yeah, it's a real-time strategy game. You have to have everything calculated right down to the second, and it's a little bit too fast there. Mong will advance on to our last match of the night, where he will get a chance to advance on along with Beast to face a host of the strongest pro gamers Brood War has ever seen. So in a way, like, you can say, yes, they're winning, they're advancing further in the tournament, but it only gets harder the farther you go.
Indeed it does. Like, the games are going to get better and better throughout the tournament as well. And the thing is, we've actually had very nice games tonight. Like, I've quite enjoyed all of them. But when we start hitting guys like round of 16, round of 8, round of 4, especially this season, like last season, they were still very good. But we have actual legends back right now, okay?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Anyone who's keeping up with those legends, like, the entire play level of everyone is going to be going up with how much everyone's practicing for the ASL.
Yeah, it's not even just the players practicing. The games have gotten better. We changed up the format a little bit. It's no longer just best of 3s. You're going to get to see at least and exactly 5 games every single day. There's more days of broadcasting. There's just more goodness. If you guys want to share this with the rest of your friends, you can be the cool person who knows about everything. But make sure to stay around. We'll be back after a short break with our final game of the night.
이건 영화 속 이야기도 누군가의 막연한 상상도 아니야. 누구도 기가를 본 적은 없지만 이미 기가 속에서 살아가고 있어. 이곳의 사람들은 감염병을 두려워하지 않아. 빅데이터로 병이 퍼지는 걸 막아주니까. 재난에 절망하는 사람도 없어. 어떤 상황에도 안전통신망이 세상과 연결해주니까. 에너지를 걱정하는 일도 없지. 복합 에너지 운영 시스템이 알아서 관리해주거든. 이것이 KT 네트워크의 힘. 미래는 기가로 이미 시작된 거야. KT.
큰 김치 사발면, 큰 튀김 우동 사발면 편의점에서 구입할 수 있어요.
와, 근데 이거 봐요.
그냥 진짜 생김치네. 김치 건더기가 엄청나게 부지매요. 김치찌개 느낌? 쿠키 같아, 쿠키. 뜨거운 거에 넣었는데 바삭바삭한 게 남아있어. 솔직한 맛평가. 김치 건더기가 진짜 많아요. 요거는 진하고 우려낸 듯한 느낌? 튀김우동이 되게 매력적이다.
제주항공 시뮬레이터 체험관에 있거든요. 오늘 함께 승무원분들이랑 같이 먹어보면서 소개해드릴 거고요. 와, 이게 더 신기하네요. 오!
한번 드셔보시겠어요?
네.
미디움 정도.
한 입 씹으면요, 입안에 육즙 같은 게 확 퍼지거든요.
그 리액션 한 번만 해주시면 안 돼요?
아이, 감사합니다. 아이고.
기호에 따라서 선택을 하셔서 맛있게 드실 수 있으실 것 같아요. 덕분에 잘 먹었습니다.
이렇게 보니 나 심쿵 내 꽃잎 내불에다 뽀뽀를 해주세요. 아니 내가 확만 진다 뽕뽕뽕 느리야
마블 히어로즈. 제가 사실 이제서야 밝히는 겁니다. 마블 소속입니다. 이제 이 로파이더맨과 함께 마블 좋아하면 키우는 거 재밌을 것 같아서 재밌지. 와! 여기 유저들이랑 다 같이 막 이동을 하면서 깨지는 거라. 마블 히어로즈 2016 마스터. 자기만의 캐릭터를 육성하면서 활용해주는 게 굉장히 중요하네요. 파워. 그린 고블린, 고스트라이더, 나이트크롤러 시향 저격하셔가지고 플레이 하시면 됩니다. 개인적으로 난 아이언맨도 한번 플레이해보고 싶네요.
여러분 삐뽀 찍으십죠? 여러분 이거 보신 분 있는 분 토니모리 정말 살짝 이거 봐 여자는 이래서 메이크업을 해야 한다니까? 유제님께서 포토샵을 현실로 안 해라고 하셨는데 오마이갓 사랑한다. 지워지지 않아야 되는 게 포인트야. 이렇게 푸시하는 걸 눌러주면 돼요. 이렇게 하라고. 어때요 여러분? 야, 너무 예쁜 거 아니야 이거 지금? 앞으로도 많이 사랑해주세요.
오션엔 엠파이어 깔고 들어오세요. 개꿀잼입니다. 바로 시작합니다. 와, 쩐다 올라오고 있죠. 그 멋있죠. 보는 것도 개재밌다. 근데 하면 더 재밌어요. 자, 이제 그럼 나가가지고 공격을 한번 해보겠습니다. 함선 건조. 여기서 함선을 만들 수가 있어요. 실시간으로 이런 식으로 함선이 만들어져가지고 나가는 게 보인다라는 거죠. 자기 만든 함선을 또 꾸밀 수도 있어요. 돛도 제가 이거 꾸민 거고. 개물개. 좀 위협적이게 생겼네요. 등껍질에 밥 비벼 먹고 싶네. 와, 레벨업 7입니다, 여기들. 쫙쫙 올라가요.
세상이 미래를 상상할 때 우린 미래를 만들고 있어. 우린 자동차와 도로를 연결해 차들이 스스로 움직이는 길을 만들지. 빅데이터로 금융의 패러다임을 바꿔 은행을 찾아다닐 필요도 없어. 미래는 멀리 있지 않아. 우린 글로벌 기업들과 힘을 합쳐 5G의 세계적인 기준을 만들고 있고 누구보다 먼저 평창에서 5G 세상을 만나게 해줄 거야. 이것이 KT 네트워크의 힘. 미래는 기가로 이미 시작된 거야. KT
here we are. One more match on the first night of the ASL Season 2. Martosis alongside Rapid. And it's been a very nice night of games so far.
That is very true. We've seen legends like Bisu advance to the next round. We've seen kind of up-and-comers up and come here. Sasa, a great example of that, able to hold his own toe-to-toe against great players, but does still need to win this one last match against Wemchi. Now, I am mine.
You know, based on what I saw in his 2 Terran vs. Protosses already, I'm feeling pretty good about his play, right? He beat Gyumchi after taking a lot of damage, then he immediately tightened up against the same type of rush and held it way better. It was a little bit different because he got offensive gas the first time, but like, you know, he really only made one big mistake, and it wasn't even like the biggest mistake. Only someone like Bisu is going to kill you for losing those like 7-8 vultures, but I don't know. I like his play. I think his TVP looks quite nice so far, and Ayamong, will he be able to pull this out even with that early damage? He lost his game against Sashin already.
Yeah, and here you can see our 2 players on our screen. Sashin definitely looked super solid, almost more so than any other game. Just the fundamentals put you so far ahead of everyone else. It just really is so mechanically important to be right on top of your game. Ayamong, a lot to prove, a strong player previously. Can he advance? We're about to get into our final game of the night. Ayamong versus Sasha.
Cause I've had enough.
The map will be Eye of the Storm. And here we go. Winner advances.
Yep, Eye of the Storm. This is going to be our final map in the map pool for every series. So you get to see 3 new maps, and then I believe we bring in a brand new super secret map for the next round. You guys will get a chance to check that out. It is brand new, so some exciting things still left in store. And even though our music introing this game has had enough, we have not. And there you can see Ayamong on your screen, the teal Protoss.
Yeah, and in the bottom right, blue Terran Sashin. Are looking very good today. Will he be able to get to that next round?
Yeah, he just seems really calm, cool, collected, keeping it 300 here, as Kanye would say. Just because it's Roman numerals, CCC.
I still don't. Oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay. Does Kanye actually say that though? I'm sorry, I have to explore this for a moment.
It's one of his sayings. I just like didn't understand it, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh my God, you're so smart.
But. Oh, I thought you were making him play because there's a command center, which we call a CC.
Well, that's also another representative, I guess, abbreviation.
I'm sorry, I'm so far behind on, like, I've lived in Korea for like 9 years or something, or coming on 9 years. So yeah,
we're having mind time with Artosis all over again here.
I'm starting to get far behind on actual cultural things in America. Like, people are like, oh, you know this show, right? I'm like, no.
I'll bet you
know this commercial, right? No, I watch Game of Thrones and I speak English, and that's about it.
Like, I'll bet you know a lot of brands of strollers, though.
Oh, I do. But yeah, man, I mean, Chipotle wasn't even a thing when I left America, so just to show you how long I've been out of there.
Oh my God.
So whatever Kanye says, I have no idea about it.
Well, it's okay. You can still vote for him a little bit later on.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about some StarCraft.
Yeah.
We've got no super offensive pyloning going on. A cross maps, or not cross map scout, but this will be the slowest possible path that Mon can take to discover exactly where his opponent has spawned, and we're just seeing a standard barracks depot wall.
Nothing too out of the ordinary. Looks like he does want to go for a command center rather quickly here without his gas, and that's something I've seen a little bit since I came back to Brood War. You know, with the leagues, this is something that was not very common in the golden days. Thank you, guy in the chat, of StarCraft 1. Pretty uncommon overall, but anyways, Zaw is heading down, and that probe wrecking that SCV so far.
Yep, SCVs do not regenerate. They need a buddy to regenerate with that repair coming on. And here comes Zealot versus Marine. That Marine has to head for the hills because there's nothing to protect him. Those meaty pizza slices that the Zealot likes to push him around with. Now here's Zealot Probe, a lot of damage here, but 2 Marines and a lot of SCVs to block.
Okay, nice micro right there. He pulled the SCV to the side so the Marines could get back. He wants to pick off the probe if he can, but the probe gets pulled back here. Great micro so far. Now there's that depot placement I was talking about before. He can run through there with the Marines. The Zealot cannot follow, but Zealot going to run deep into the main base so that the second Zealot can kill the SCV, making the command center. And when you start slowing him down with things like that, like you'll skip a supply depot, for instance, to try to get the supply from the command center. So to cancel that, it's big.
And there you can see the Marines just running through a little bit of lost mining time here, but this pressure is still effective. Marine being killed there, and the Probe Zealot combo able to continue to damage these Marines. Will we see a second one go down? No.
Very good micro coming out of Sashin right there, just losing 1 Marine so far, utilizing that building placement to its finest. And with more Zealots coming in, Gemchi is like trying to pull off some sort of flank here while delaying the command center still. So he's still gaining some value. There is some missed mining time and whatnot. But, you know, this is held by Sashin. He's not going to die. He's not taking too much damage.
Yep, we have seen very similar TVPs really all day long. We've seen 2 great defenses. This is where Sasson really seems to excel in holding off these early Protoss pushes. This time, though, there is going to be a Dragoon, so a little bit of higher tech added here. And with Dragoon range spinning up, this could really put the pressure on this expansion and keep it from coming up.
And there's no ramp as well, so you definitely have to keep that in mind. He's kept 2 Zealots alive. That's a big deal here because the Marines have to run away from Zealots. They can fight a Dragoon, but they cannot fight Zealots face to face. The bunker trying to come up. A lot of SCVs have come out to try to finish this, but a ton of damage going down on these Marines right now from the Zealots.
Bunker doesn't do damage. You need Marines inside, and this is pretty much the last Marine that's going to be able to fit in the bunker, but he just can't make it. The bunker will finish, but there's nothing to put inside of it, and more SCVs starting to go down. The command center's not even up.
Man, he gets them into the bunker. Now, here's another problem, though. Right? There's still a Zealot in his main base, so he has to kill that. And Dragoon range is going to finish. And Dragoon range outranges Marines in a bunker that don't have the range upgrade.
It's a pretty good ability. Great research there, and that's exactly what we're about to see. You're supposed to hold position those outside the range of the bunker.
Yeah.
Loses all the shields. Those will regen, but still the pressure about to be accelerated.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, you're going to have to repair that bunker at least, and if you get more Dragoons up, eventually you walk forward and start picking off SCVs that are repairing the bunker. So, very annoying stuff, and of course that costs minerals as well. He's got to get a siege tank out to push these back, but then finally we can call this completely held.
Expansion is up for the Terran. Coming up there for Ayamong is just Maynarding over his SCVs right now. But the pressure is still on the front door of Sasson, and he always has to keep an eye on that. Now, Siege is coming out, so that will push these Dragoons away, but losing a lot of minerals continuing to repair that bunker.
Yeah, now it looks like he's going observatory, so that's just kind of normal to get some observers out for scouting, for spotting spider mines. Of course, he could have gone into Reaver Tech, which can be good after an opening like this, but doesn't look like that's what he's up to. Now, the Dragoon placement here is a little bit tricky. You move them down for a moment, and he was just kind of setting them up so that if Sashin made a big blunder with the siege tank, he could pick it off, but Sashin playing very carefully here, and with siege mode done, that's it. It's held. He's safe. Ayamong has to back up, and the game continues forward.
Yeah, and that was actually, I'm glad you mentioned the positioning there in case those tanks are too close to the wall. That's exactly what Mong is trying to do. The walls on this map are very thin, so you can shoot over and try to snipe those siege tanks, but not like that.
Yeah, that was like too greedy that he even tried that. Like, Sashin has already shown that he really knows how to hold cheese well, so I'm surprised he even tried to poke there. But anyways, he is going up, in fact, to Reaver Tech. So we will be seeing a Reaver drop coming in, and this can be pretty nice. Like, you've already forced your opponent into a bunker, into siege tanks here. This is very mineral heavy. He doesn't really have a lot of vultures, so it's kind of like a nice containing type of play, and it definitely has potential to deal a lot of damage as well.
Pushing out now, pushing all of these Dragoons back. Actually, they might lose one. Nope, they are out of there. So withdrawing in time, not overextending by any means and losing his army like we saw in the first game of the day. Base is up for both players, and for now we just get into the macro rather, and see which direction they're going. Probably mech here from Sasson. Mong just scouting things out with the observatory.
Yeah, and, you know, he'll see what's what. Like, if there's no missile turrets up, the Reaver can definitely start to do some damage with the siege mode done and some Marines and some extra units coming out of the second factory. Like, Sashin should be able to hold the Reaver without too much problem, but, I mean, if you have really good Reaver micro, it can be, it can just do damage almost no matter what.
Yeah, unless you have like much scarabs and they actually just never detonate on anything ever.
Yeah, that does happen. It's Much knows quite a bit about that. Definitely, he was probably at one point during the Golden Age, the 7th best Protoss in the world.
Yeah,
but
he was almost in the Dragons.
Yeah,
but
not quite though. They never let him into the. They never taught him the secret handshake or something like that. But a couple Goliaths out here to help push back this shuttle.
Now here comes the shuttle in. This is actually just going to soak the first tank shot, and a big Reaver shot! Not detonating.
Oh, man.
Holy cow, that could have actually just killed every SCV.
Yeah, that could have been deadly. He picks off the siege tank. By the way, guys, that's exactly what Reaver drops look like. You drop the Zealot, the siege tanks shoot at it, you drop the Reaver, and then you get to do damage. And the shuttle can hold 2 Zealots and a Reaver. And here he's gone back to pick up a second Reaver now, so now he's just going plain out damage, no more Zealot popping tricks.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, those siege tanks do reach the upper lips, so the Reavers are going to start to take damage with this, but with more Scarabs out there, it increases the chance that they will actually detonate, and that could just be too much damage.
He's also gotten shuttle speed here, so that's going to make him a lot stronger against these Goliaths as well. And look at this, the Scarab's starting to deal some serious damage here. Finally will push that back a little bit, dealing some actual hull damage to the shuttle. But, you know what? I like how Among is playing this. He's whittling down some of these units, and this is fantastic. It's allowing him complete control of this game so far.
And he's got a second shuttle out now, so just going to really pile on this pressure. This might be a great place to continue to pressure in here. There's not a lot of siege tech here to hold this. Lots of Zealots up in the front lines, and Reaver's back behind. This is really going to tear Saucin in 2 directions.
Yeah, this is just doing fantastic damage. What a smart move right there. Really punishing those early Goliaths. They just do not do well against these types of units. But now the Goliath's coming in, and some of them getting picked off.
Oh, the Reaver's at 2 HP, so he's got to pull it out of there. Some Zealots left behind, but the Dragoon pressure up the front is going to force so many SCVs just to come off the line.
These were really great moves by Among, but that last Dragoon attack a little bit off. He saved 1 Reaver, which is really nice. He can kind of utilize that for Vulture defense. They're very good against Vultures later on, but he secured his 3 bases, and he's whittled down a lot of units here from Sashin. So some cool stuff going on. Oh my god, he continues harassment.
You really just have to kind of clench there. Okay, well,
that's a Reaver, man.
Worst case scenario, either you kill every SCV or things like that happen.
Yeah.
So.
Or like it just doesn't shoot, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Well, I guess I don't have any more Reavers.
Oh, well.
And he's not likely to build any more, guys. That's kind of an early game unit in this matchup. You don't really make them late game.
Yeah, they kind of suck versus siege tanks. So
yeah,
really,
very much so.
They're a little bit like Disruptors in StarCraft 2 in that they do have their place, their time, but can't quite use them the same way. So Vultures, rather, coming out here, almost said Reapers. It's the kind of the unit that the Reaper does 1/3 the job of. But here we go, pushing into this big siege tank line. There's no like Arbiters or anything. This is just straight up Dragoons against siege tanks. He is pushing forward, taking out quite a few of them. And SCVs, I mean, they're great at mining, not so great at holding up big Protoss pushes.
Great Bulldog maneuver right there, dropping the Zealots on the siege tanks here and rushing in with the Dragoons. Now, a lot of this AI being screwed with the SCVs, so it looks like Sashin will end up living through this, but again, he's losing quite a few units here and quite a few SCVs as well.
But yeah, and just these Dragoons in such an annoying place to deal with. It's nothing but SCVs fighting them, and he's just going to decimate this economy of Saucin, who, by the way, still on 2 base, so he's really not in a big position to hold up against this economic pressure.
Yeah, this is really bad. Look at the units just streaming down the map. That is a lot of speed Zealots. You need quite a few Vultures to deal with that, but they're going to get right in on top of the siege tank. No Spider Mines laid for defense whatsoever. The rally's actually getting them to be hurt before they can even fight. And this is just getting out of hand.
Yeah, this is Mong just running over his opponent. Zealots now in the main, and no Terran units in sight. Shake of the head there from Saucin, and GG. That's going to take it. It's going to be I Am Mong on to the next round. winning this final game against Sasha.
All right, very well done there. Great execution on some of his attacks. Some of them were a little bit bungled, but overall, he had a very solid strategy throughout there. And Sasha, despite being very good at holding cheese, was just unable to hold on at the end to that just swarm of zealots.
Yeah, not really the first attack killing him, but those Reavers. Reavers, yeah. I keep wanting to say Assassin's name, which is Reaper, but coming in there, Reavers killing off lots of supply depots, pulling them apart, just too much to deal with. So Mon will move on, and that's actually really, really cool to see some of the old school players really showing that they still have what it takes here against some up-and-coming talent.
Yeah, and the thing is, some of these up-and-comers, I think will do well. Some of them will end up being great players, but the best players were the best for a reason, and if they're back playing, it's going to be hard for everyone else.
Heading into our interview here with our second player to advance. This is I Am Mon. Congratulations for advancing to the round of 16. Tell us how you feel. There's a lot of people cheering for me, but I'm actually very disappointed that I lost my first match. I had the early advantage, but I couldn't carry that advantage all throughout the game. So you used the forward gateway strategy once again, but the Terran player blocked the entrance. Were you surprised by that? So I know Sasha's style very well, and I knew that he was going to go for his double barracks play. I couldn't really kill a lot of units, or as many units as I expected early game, but I still was able to pull it off and get the victory.
첫 번째 경기 지고 오늘 어떻게 생각하셨나요? 오늘 올라갈 수 있을까? 못 올라갈까? 막 이런 생각 계속
So tell us how you felt after losing your first match here tonight.
홍구가 너무 잘하고 첫 번째 경기 진짜 2승 아니면 탈락이다 이런 각오로 왔었는데
I'm very weak against Larva, and Larva is a very strong player, so I was very worried to play against him. So I kind of expected to get eliminated here tonight.
저도 궁금한 게 있었는데요. 왜 옵저버를 선택을 안 하고?
But I was able to pull it off and get the victory to advance.
네, 첫 번째 판에.
드라군으로 투팩인 걸 알아가지고 거기서 이제 막으면 이기겠다 생각했는데 벌쳐 돌아온 거를 생각을 못한 것 같습니다, 제가.
So with my Dragoon, I was able to scout out that he had 2 factories when I was playing against Sasha in the first match, but I wasn't able to defend against his siege push.
수스타 좋아요 하니까 좋아요 이러더라고요.
아, 좋다고 하니까 한 거예요?
바로 주워 먹었습니다.
아니 그냥 누가 좋다고 하면 하는 거예요?
아니 근데 오늘 보니까 홍구가 긴장을 많이 한 것 같더라고요. 그래서 피해를 많이 줄 수 있을 거라 생각했습니다.
I think Larva was very nervous today playing in the studio, so he really wasn't able to perform up to his level. He's a better player than what he showed today.
굉장히 어려운데 지금 보고 있는 이제 무엔터 같은
So the round of 16 is going to be very, very hard coming up.
무조건 16강에도
But my Moo Entertainment crew members and a lot of fans are supporting me, so I'm going to prepare very hard, practice very hard to do my very best in the round of 16.
단둘이 여성과 단둘이 있는 거 처음 아니십니까?
So how does it feel to actually meet this female reporter face to face?
아, 제가 바빠서.
아, 바쁘다고 하네요. 이렇습니다. 우리 남자들.
And since this is the final game, do you get to go on Wayshik after the broadcast?
오늘 굉장히 기분 좋고, 예. 다음 그 16강 돌파 자신 있나요?
She says, okay, well, maybe we should go eat something after the broadcast. Very satisfied. So thank you very much to all the fans that are supporting me and all the players who helped me practice. That is going to do it. So a lot of kind of cheeky banter there with Guemchi or I Am Mon, because he is kind of known as that kind of guy if you guys watch his Africa stream. So nice to see him kind of playing up to not just the player but the character. And here you can see our match results for today. Bisu making it out with a 2-0, and I Am Mon closing it out, clutching it there at the very end.
That's right. Very well done by the Protoss players, and I got to go back to what you said about like kind of cool to see him show this personality. with Kespa not being involved with these StarCraft players anymore and all of them kind of having lives outside of StarCraft, we're seeing just so much more personality out of everybody, which is kind of cool and fun. Because I mean, I've been watching these guys all since they started, and to watch like Gyumchi have this type of personality when before he would just say the most robot answers at interviews, it's very refreshing. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Cheer for me, show good games, and all that kind of stuff. But no, these are actually people that have been out there living their life, and now they're coming back to reprise their roles as some of the greatest, in this case, Protoss players out there to ever walk the face of the earth in Bisu's case. And we'll see more of the Dragons coming up as we get through these group stages. We should be able to take a look at the games that are coming up tomorrow and the next day, and so many days. We've got 3 days in a row.
That's so sick, 3 days in a row to be casting this wonderful, wonderful tournament. Of course, 3 days next week as well.
Yep, there were actually days and months during the glory days of Brood War where there weren't 3 games in a row. So now, so much great Brood War, and here you can see our games coming up tomorrow. Effort versus Light. Rain coming back from StarCraft 2, going up against the newcomer Force.
That's so crazy. And Light, a lot of you guys probably don't know Light. This guy was an unbelievably strong Terran, always one of the best Terrans in the world, but always undervalued because he never really had the deep runs in the individual leagues, always a strong pro league player, and just like a fantastic Terran for any Terran player to study back in the day. So like, I'm very excited to see him back playing here in StarCraft 1. And of course, I mean, the return of Rain. How weird is this?
Yeah, it's like, okay,
one of the best StarCraft 2 players of all time.
Exactly. So he's a Brood War player, and then goes to doesn't really define himself very well there, if I'm not mistaken. Goes into StarCraft 2 and actually just crushes.
He was an up and comer in Brood War. He was starting to get quite good, and then they switched to StarCraft 2, and he became one of the best ever in that game. He has so many championships. Like, invented a whole way to play Protoss that no one else could really play, and no one else has really equaled the style. Like, he's the best defensive macro player Protoss ever had in StarCraft 2. So fun that he's actually gone back. He retired in his prime and was like, okay, well, I'm going to be done now. And here he is in Brood War again. That's going to be a fun day tomorrow.
Because we never really got a chance to see him come to fruition. Now that opportunity is upon us. And it will be upon us tomorrow. So we want to see you right back here once again. Get out there, tell your friends that ASL is back in Season 2. We certainly want to thank you all for watching. We love you. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Have a good night.